It's clear to tonight's audience that Crayont represents Putin and Antigone, Ukraine, resisting a tyrant, fighting for justice and freedom. Just to underline the parallels, 5 minutes into the second act, with Antigone walled up alive in a tomb, singing defiantly, an air raid warning goes off. The music stops, the curtain descends, and the theatre is evacuated. Everyone seems rather unfazed. In July this year, 3 people died in Chernivtsi after a Russian attack, but on the whole, it escaped the worst of the war. The all-clear sounds, and we head back for the remainder of the second act. Artworks like Bortnyansky's have an outsized importance in this conflict. Part of Vladimir Putin's rationale for subjugating Ukraine is that it's not really a country at all. Staging this operatic masterpiece is a form of counter-argument, a way of reminding the world of Ukraine's own traditions and culture. Even the choice of venue is significant. Chernivtsi, sometimes nicknamed Little Vienna, was part of the Austro-Hungarian Empire for much longer than it belonged to the Soviet Union. This is reflected in its coffee shops and its dilapidated but beautiful Art Nouveau buildings. The opera house we're in was designed by Viennese architects and is a riot of elaborate gold mouldings and plush red velvet. As the second act unfolds, it becomes clear that Bortnyansky has adjusted the story's ending. Spoiler alert. In Sophocles' original, Antigone dies. In Bortnyansky's, the citizens rise up and overthrow the tyrant. A frisson goes through the theatre as the members of the chorus approach the stage through the audience and liberate Antigone, who magnanimously pardons the tyrant who tried to kill her. The opera concludes, and the curtain falls to tumultuous applause. It rises again for the curtain calls and a standing ovation. So many bouquets are given to the musicians and performers that the stage starts to resemble the interior of a florist's. Energized and uplifted, we spill out into the rain-wet cobbled streets. Over the coming days, Russia will step up its air attacks on energy infrastructure and cities in western Ukraine. But the production itself has been a triumph. The mere fact that a 250-year-old masterpiece has been resurrected in the independent homeland of its creator is a victory. Tonight, at least, the audience goes home believing that a happy ending might still be possible.
That was Marcel Theroux. I'm Pascal Harter. The producer was Polly Hope. We'll be back next weekend, so do join us again then, here on the BBC World Service.
That was the BBC programme from our own correspondent.
Good morning, Manitoba. It is Monday, December 15th. You're listening to Information Radio on CBC Radio 1. I'm Chloe Friesen, filling in for Marcy Marcusa. Let's say hello to our team this morning. Abby Adiemi is our technical producer. Darren Morash is our YouTube live stream producer. Corey Funk is our show director. And Heather Wells is here with news headlines. Good morning.
Good morning. Well, the start of the 8-day celebration of Hanukkah is being overshadowed in Winnipeg by a deadly shooting in Sydney, Australia. 15 people were killed on Bondi Beach in what authorities there call a terrorist attack. We'll hear more about that coming up on World Report. Rob Williams is an Australian Jew who lives in Winnipeg, and he is determined to not let fear drive him from the Jewish holiday. The head of the food bank in Flin Flon says the northern Manitoba city is being left behind in the affordability crisis. Allison Dallas Funk says the food bank has a catchment area of 20,000 people in both Manitoba and Saskatchewan, and she says it gets by mostly on local business and community donations. She would like to see the province step up support. We'll hear more from her coming up in our next local news at 6:30.
Thank you very much, Heather.
Thank you.
Coming up on Information Radio, as you heard Heather say, the Jewish community is left shaken as we learn more details of the attack that took place at Bondi Beach in Sydney, Australia. We are going to hear from a professor of criminology as well as the president of the Jewish Federation of Winnipeg. Also, the province is now offering rebates to help businesses beef up security. We'll hear from a Winnipeg man whose business has been hit multiple times by thieves. We'll hear what he thinks of this new rebate. That conversation is still to come, and nearly a month into the new encampment ban and freezing temperatures, Outreach workers say they are overwhelmed. We are going to talk to the West Central Women's Resource Center about the scramble to find people shelter. For those stories with weather updates, music, and more, you can stay with us here on Information Radio. A quick look at our weather forecast, currently sitting at -12 here in Winnipeg at the Forks, looking at a chance of flurries, a 30% chance as we continue into your morning here. And of course, we'll have more updates still to come.
On cue. Leon Thomas spent years producing for some of the biggest artists in the world before going solo. Now he's nominated for 6 Grammys, including Album of the Year. He'll be here to talk about his journey so far, like growing up a child star on Nickelodeon, and why making music feels like a responsibility.
Is that really unnatural?
Q with Tom Power. This morning at 10:30 in Newfoundland, and on the CBC Listen app, or wherever you get your podcasts.
This is World Report. Good morning, I'm Angie Seth. Police in Los Angeles are investigating the death of Hollywood director Rob Reiner as a homicide. Reiner directed nearly 24 films, including This Is Spinal Tap and The Princess Bride. He and his wife Michelle were found dead in their home yesterday. Steve Farderman brings us the latest on the investigation and Reiner's legacy.
Boy, the way Glenn Miller played.
This is how the world was introduced to Rob Reiner. He played the liberal son-in-law in the landmark 1970s sitcom All in the Family, often battling his conservative father-in-law, Archie Bunker, who referred to Reiner's character as Meathead.
Like I said before, that you ain't got no respect.
Oh, it's respect has to be earned.
So does a living, but that don't mean nothing to you.
Overnight here in the Brentwood section of Los Angeles near Reiner's home, police spent the night conducting their investigation. Deputy Police Chief Alan Hamilton.
Los Angeles police officers, along with the Los Angeles City Fire Department, responded to the 200 block of Chadbourne Avenue here in the city of Brentwood. Upon arrival, they determined that there were 2 deceased individuals inside of the residence.
Although police did not officially confirm the deaths, Reiner's family did. According to media reports, the person under suspicion is his 32-year-old son, Nick, who has dealt with mental health issues. In addition to his acting, Reiner also won acclaim directing such films as When Harry Met Sally and A Few Good Men.
You want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth! You can't handle the truth!
Among those expressing shock at Reiner's death, former U.S. President Barack Obama. He said Reiner had a deep belief in goodness. Steve Futterman, CBC News, Los Angeles.
A person of interest in the shooting at Brown University is being released. Rhode Island police detained a man in his 20s after Saturday's incident. 2 students were killed, 9 others were injured. The CBC's Willie Lowry is following developments from Washington. So, Willie, what are officials saying about the decision to release this person of interest?
Rhode Island authorities say that after hours in custody, they simply didn't have enough evidence to charge the person that they had detained earlier Sunday morning. And they believe that the information they have collected points in a different direction. Rhode Island Attorney General Peter Nerona says he's still confident they'll find the killer.
There's a ton of things that happen next. And so I don't want to get into all those things because obviously we have a murderer out there, frankly. And so we're not going to give away the game plan. But the fact of the matter is law enforcement has the tools necessary to solve this case.
Authorities have released a 9-second security video that they believe shows the suspect turning a corner near Brown University in Providence. The suspect is dressed all in black and walking briskly. 2 students were killed in the shooting and 9 others injured when a gunman burst into the engineering and physics building and opened fire. Students were preparing for final exams. The Ivy League school has canceled classes and exams and allowed students to head home early for the holidays. Providence Mayor Brett Smiley says residents should still feel safe despite police releasing the initial person of interest.
We know that this is likely to cause fresh anxiety for our community. And we want to reiterate what we said earlier, which remains true, which is ever since the initial call, we have not received any credible or specific threats to the Providence community. And so the status of safety in our community remains unchanged.
The FBI is assisting local authorities in the investigation. There's still no word on a possible motive behind the attack.
Willie, thanks for the update.
My pleasure.
The CBC's Willie Lowry in Washington. People lay flowers, cards and stuffed animals at a growing memorial at Bondi Beach in Australia. 15 people were shot dead on Sunday during a Hanukkah celebration at the popular Sydney destination. Police say 2 gunmen opened fire, injuring several people. It is being investigated as a terrorist attack. People in the community say they're still in shock.
It's just the most horrifying thing that I always prayed that would never happen. You'd never have to experience anything like this. I just keep on thinking that I'm in a bad dream and I'm going to wake up.
And my heart goes out to all the victims, their families, and the journey that they're now going to be on to heal from what's happened.
It's caused a lot of destruction, and I think there are a lot of many people, many families who are going to be impacted for a long time.
Police say a father and son are suspected of carrying out the attacks. A 50-year-old man was killed by police, his 24-year-old son in hospital. He was also shot. Australia's government says it will overhaul its already tough national gun control laws and is facing criticism over its handling of rising anti-Semitism in the country. Sebastian Lai says his family is saddened but not surprised his father Jimmy Lai has been convicted under China's national security law.
What we've seen today and actually over the past 5 years is a complete breakdown of the Hong Kong legal system.
The pro-democracy campaigner founded the now-defunct Apple Daily newspaper. Lai could be jailed for life. A 3-judge panel ruled he conspired to publish seditious materials and colluded with foreign forces. Laura Westbrook has more from Hong Kong.
Jimmy Lai is the most prominent pro-democracy figure arrested in 2020 under the national security law imposed by Beijing in the wake of anti-government protests the year before. One of the 3 national security judges, Esther To, says there was no doubt in the judges' minds that Lai had never wavered in his intention to destabilize China and continued to call for sanctions against China and Hong Kong after the national security law took effect. Listening to the verdict, Jimmy Lai sat stoically with his arms folded and later waved to his family and supporters as he was escorted out of the glass dock. Here's Hong Kong's National Security Police Chief Steve Lee.
The court particularly highlighted that the testimony of the Lai is a contradiction, inconsistent and reliable, and also highlighted that he is the mastermind of the 3 charges.
A vocal critic of China's leaders, Jimmy Lai founded the well-known pro-democracy Apple Daily newspaper. It was forced to shut down in 2021. William Wong is one of the newspaper's longtime readers.
Our voice have been destroyed by the government.
78-year-old Lai faces up to life in prison and will be sentenced at a later date. Laura Westbrook for CBC News, Hong Kong.
The feminist punk collective known as Pussy Riot is now considered an extremist organization in Russia. Pussy Riot became known globally in 2012 after they were jailed for staging a protest against President Vladimir Putin in a Russian Orthodox cathedral. Those women have all left Russia, but they continue to speak out against the war in Ukraine. Today, a Moscow court labeled them foreign agents and handed them jail sentences in absentia for spreading lies about the Russian army. On social media, Pussy Riot's founder says if telling the truth is extremism, they're happy to be extremists. And finally, U.S. tariffs are adding another cost to manufacturers' bottom lines. Some companies say they're bringing on new hires just to make sure there's no mistakes in the cross-border paperwork. Trade experts say it's turning routine administrative shipping tasks into executive-level priorities. The CBC's Chris Ensing explains.
In a Detroit warehouse next to North America's busiest land crossing, U.S. Customs Border and Protection import specialist Mark Bolelli is checking skids.
And that's what they will be doing, is they'll just say this is an auto part, bypassing the steel tariffs.
Bolelli will apply the appropriate 25% tariff and see if this was an honest mistake or an attempt to avoid American tariffs.
Declarations are being scrutinized a lot more by customs.
Ray Fisher is a cross-border trade expert with Doane Grant Thornton and says tariff classifications went from a low-level task to a CEO's nightmare.
The discussions that we are having are with the C-suites, the owners.
Getting it wrong a decade ago wouldn't come with much of a financial penalty, but tariffs have changed the risk level entirely. The U.S. raked in close to $33 billion on tariff enforcement actions this fiscal year, an exponential jump from the $700 million the year before.
So this is a vicious cycle Canada is going through right now.
Casey Vasudeva owns Ultraform Manufacturing in Ontario. His auto parts can cross the border 5 times during production before they're finished. Vasudeva has laid off more than a dozen employees, blaming tariffs for his operation's slowdowns, but he's hired 2 people to make sure the paperwork is accurate.
That's what gives us the headache.
Back at the warehouse, Bolelli moves on to the next skid, knowing his decision could spark chaos inside a Canadian office. Chris Hensing, CBC News, Detroit.
And that's the latest national and international news from World Report. I'm Angie Seth. This is CBC News.
Good morning, Manitoba. I'm Chloe Friesen, filling in this morning for Marcy Marcusa. You're listening to Information Radio. .89.3 FM, 990 AM on YouTube or anywhere on your CBC Listen app. Thanks for joining us this morning. Coming up on the show, we'll speak with a criminology expert after yesterday's deadly terror attack at Australia's Bondi Beach. Also, it's a 4th winter of war for Ukraine, even as diplomatic conversations are underway, trying to find a way to end it. We'll hear about the latest developments. But first, the Canadian Armed Forces carried out a special operation in Winnipeg over the weekend, delivering Christmas hampers to homes in need. We'll hear from 2 soldiers who have been participating in the tradition for 20 years. But first, it's time for news headlines with Heather Wells.
Good morning. Well, Winnipeg police are increasing their patrols at synagogues in the coming days. It comes after 2 gunmen opened fire on a crowd at Bondi Beach in Australia during Hanukkah celebration on Sunday. As you heard in World Report, 15 people died. Here in Winnipeg, police are also enhancing their presence at cultural centers and at places of worship during Hanukkah. The chair of Manitoba Hydro's board of directors has resigned. Ben Graham was appointed in 2023. He was formerly the CEO for MPI and then the head of Manitoba Blue Cross. Manitoba Hydro did not specify who now will act as Hydro's board chair. I'll be back with more Manitoba news coming up at 6:30.
Thank you very much, Heather.
Thank you.
That is CBC's Heather Wells. Abby Adeyemi is here, both with his Christmas sweater and a look at the forecast.
Yeah, Chloe, good morning. Cloudy start across the province. We're still going to be dealing with those bitter, frigid conditions lingering in the northern parts of the province while we see that slow warm-up beginning to push into the southern parts of the province. But we still need to get through today. For Winnipeg and the Red River Valley region, currently it's minus 12 at this time. We should see a high only reach about minus 9 later. Then tonight, we're going to see some breezy conditions with a risk of, freezing rain as temperatures start to climb towards tomorrow morning. But across the south, minus 18 in Clare and Brandon at this time, minus 10 in Dauphin. We're spotting light snow there, and Gimli's at minus 15. Up north, we're looking at minus 18 around Flin Flon. Thompson and Churchill still frigid, minus 21 and minus 28. The wind chill around that region, it feels like minus 38. So frostbite is still a thing. So the sharp contrast is the north is still staying cold, while the south, we're already seeing like below minus 15s in the southern part of the province.
Toasty.
And we should warm up to about minus 9 later in the day.
All right. Abby, can you describe the Christmas sweater of the day for our listeners? I know our YouTube viewers can see it.
Superheroes also celebrate holidays.
Okay. Yeah. Superman is decked out in a nice Santa
Superman
hat.
has got his Santa hat, and a Batman that doesn't come with mood is also like
a jolly Batman.
Yeah, he's a jolly Batman.
Ooh, who would have expected? I like it.
You don't see Batman smile or try to
but I guess you do at Christmas.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Abby.
Thank you.
Corey Funk No Christmas sweater for you. What's
No,
going on?
I know. I feel so unfestive compared to Abby here. It's the commute so far pretty quiet out there. I'm not wearing a Christmas sweater because I'm actually still kind of wearing my running clothes. I'm gonna run in this morning.
How was it?
It was not bad actually. The sidewalks were all plowed. Fairly straightforward run in. Looks like the streets are looking okay too. Hasn't been too much snow, at least here in the city. On the highways, looks like in the southwest, according to Manitoba 501 around Melita area, might still be some snow-covered highways there. But other than that, things seem pretty smooth. So if you see something going out there, if you're walking, you're biking, you're driving, you want to tell me what's going on, give me a call on the CBC commuter line. I'll let folks know what you're seeing. That number, 204-788-3093.
While Santa's helpers were still wearing green, their uniforms looked a little different this year. Dressed in green camouflage, Canadian Armed Forces were knocking on doors and delivering Christmas hampers to families in need on Saturday. Operation Parcel Push is a long-standing tradition for the soldiers of the Fort Garry Horse Army Reserve. And this year, they delivered about 180 hampers filled with food and gifts to homes in Winnipeg's North End. CBC's Gavin Axelrod was there, and he caught up with two soldiers who have participated in Operation Parcel Push for about 20 years.
Captain James Smith.
Major Matthew Bittner.
So today is Operation Parcel Push. We do it annually along with our Soldier Appreciation Dinner. During the morning, we get hampers from the Christmas cheerboard and we deliver them to local houses within the community in our area around our armories. So the process for today is we can only fit so many of these hampers in the vehicles with the troops at one time, so they kind of do a rotational basis. So they'll go deliver the 5 or 6 homes that they have, come back, reload up, go back out, and then anything that they can't deliver because maybe the people aren't home today or they just don't answer the door, they bring them back, then we take them back to the cheerboard. That goes till about roughly around lunchtime. We have lunch, and then we start with more appreciation of the soldiers, and then tonight we have a dinner for them.
What's why is it so important, I guess, for the armed forces to be involved in something like this?
I think it's important for the armed forces to show that we're not just always overseas, but we're also part of the community as well, and we always fight for or participate in community events.
And to add to that, we are Army reservists, so this is our part-time job. Full-time, we are members of the community, so we want to show that we are part of the community, and it's just giving back to where we're from. What do you think it means to some of these folks to get this delivery in the holiday season?
I think for them, I think it's nice, especially with the world today and how it can be tough for some people to really get through just living day to day with their paychecks. But it's nice that they see that the community in Winnipeg and the Army Reserves are all there to support them. And I think that it's welcoming for them to see that and get that support.
This is one of our fun days, yeah. Normally training is hard work and not the most pleasant environment, but today is all about enjoying the Christmas cheer and getting to the community and then having some fun back with the soldiers. How do people react when they see soldiers showing up at their door delivering this stuff?
Generally pretty good. Sometimes we're waking people up because we start so early, and they're kind of groggy, and they're like, "Oh, I'm just making breakfast," or having their morning coffee. But generally, it's received very well, especially when it's combined with gift cards or toys for the children that are at the homes. They see that as an early Christmas gift. So it's kind of nice.
What's it like for the kids to see members of the armed forces?
Well, a lot of times the kids are actually like, "Whoa, that's an army soldier knocking on their door," and it's pretty funny. Or sometimes they refer to video games that they play. They're like, "Oh, are you Call of Duty?" And it's not. It's nothing like that at all. But generally, it's received fairly well.
That was CBC's Gavin Axelrod speaking with Captain James Smith and Major Matthew Bittner. Well, we're going to keep the Christmas spirit going here on Information Radio. This is Jen Grant with I'll Be Home for Christmas. was Jen Grant with I'll Be Home for Christmas.
Breaking tonight. Every day.
The tariffs are very good. They're very powerful.
Canadians are always ready when someone else drops the gloves.
We bring context to chaos.
What are the consequences of this action?
We must retaliate.
In our own backyard.
Come on, plane crash.
And beyond our borders.
It's the scene of an airstrike.
You're gambling with World War III.
Negotiations are ongoing. From the source you can trust. It's time to dig deeper into the story. The National, Canada's newscast. Tonight on CBC.
The time is 6:21. You are listening to Information Radio on CBC Radio 1. I'm Chloe Friesen. As we've been hearing in the news, at least 15 people have been killed and dozens injured in what Australian police say was a terrorist attack targeting the Jewish community. On Sunday, police say a father and son opened fire at Bondi Beach in Sydney at an event to celebrate the first day of Hanukkah. The 50-year-old father was fatally shot by police, and the 24-year-old son was wounded and is being treated at a hospital. For more on the aftermath, we've reached Michael Kempa. He's an associate professor of criminology at the University of Ottawa. Good morning.
Good morning, Chloe.
This shooting has been deemed a terrorist attack. What does that mean?
Well, in Australia, as in Canada, you've got violence that's directed towards a political purpose, and you add the additional layer that they're willfully doing this action in service of a terrorist entity. You are deliberately carrying out violence because you want to further the interests of an entity that the government has defined as a terrorist organization.
When a group of people is so obviously targeted, in this case the Jewish community, what effect does that have on a community's sense of security, even beyond Australia?
Well, it echoes around the world, and intuitively we would know it would have a chilling effect on people's sense of safety, but also through all manner of studies. So polling, interviews with affected communities around the world, we know that it diminishes people's sense of well-being and safety from moving in public space, and their sense that governments and security agencies are capable of keeping them safe. In particular here in Canada, we've had things like fire bombings of synagogues in the Montreal region and elsewhere, Jewish schools in Toronto and elsewhere. These are supposed to be the very spaces that are the safest in our society, and it's these types of attacks in particular that really have that negative impact on people's sense of safety and well-being.
What are your thoughts on the suspects being related, a father and son?
Well, it lends weight to the Australian concern that this is a terrorist action on the basis that radicalization very often, first and foremost, transmits through family structures. We've seen that here in Canada as well, where we've had duos of fathers and sons carry out attacks using vehicles, for example, to target identifiable members of groups. Secondarily, friend networks and social media. So it's not particularly unusual, if it's a terror-motivated act of violence, to have it be family members acting in concert.
Now, in November, CSIS Director Dan Rogers said violent extremism, quote, persists as one of Canada's most significant national security concerns, unquote. What happens now here in Canada in the wake of this incident?
Well, we go on heightened alert here in Canada, our security and policing agencies, for very good reason. We have very many of the same issues and dynamics in play that led to the violence in Australia. So anti-Semitic hate crimes very much on the rise in Canadian society. The number one group targeted for these forms of crime, of course, being Jewish communities, and number two, Islamic communities. We will be looking at increasing police presence at mass events, religious events over the duration of Hanukkah and through the rest of the Jewish high holidays, and in fact, Muslim celebrations as well. And I would say it's going to be on the periphery of these events. If you think of something like at a private venue or a fenced public park, it's the sidewalks, the roadways in the immediate vicinity of these events that unfortunately where people with very bad intentions can most easily find and target their victims. So police presence there.
There have been targeted attacks in Canada before, and as you say, anti-Semitic attacks have been increasing. How should community groups and authorities respond when it comes to public safety right now, given the start of Hanukkah?
Well, number one, we hope that people wouldn't be so fearful that they would no longer participate in events that are so important to their communities. Number two, we're going to see much more vigilance around these events. So again, I would say to people, it's at that periphery where you at the greatest risk, sort of congregating in groups outside of venues, outside of fenced areas. If you've got a private venue, perhaps there'll be a private security presence. Life will go on, but people will be much more vigilant, particularly this year.
Lastly here, Michael, I want to talk about some footage that we saw yesterday. It apparently shows a member of the public disarming one of the gunmen. It's garnering a lot of attention online. What's your reaction and key takeaway from that?
Well, I've never seen anything like it. You had an individual, my understanding is he arrived in a taxi, heard gunshots, ran toward the gunshots, liaised with a police officer. They came up with a plan to flank an active shooter. It happens the civilian got to him first, wrestled a large automatic weapon out of an active shooter's hands. I mean, it's extraordinary courage on a level that we can barely imagine. I would just say if this individual was capable of doing that in Australia, certainly citizens right across the board should be capable of confronting the types of anti-Semitic and Islamophobic sentiments that are circulating. If you find it in the workplace, if you find it at your social gatherings or in social media, confront it, because that denormalizes the types of language that leads to the type of violence that we've seen, the tragedy we've seen in Australia.
Thank you for your time this morning, Michael.
Thank you kindly.
Michael Kempa is an associate professor of criminology at the University of Ottawa.
CBC's New Year's Eve show is back, and we want to know, what are you doing on New Year's Eve? Last year, we reached 6.8 million Canadians as we counted down live in all 6 time zones. Now, we're looking to join celebrations across Canada. Are you getting married? Doing something special? Send an email to ask@cbc.ca, and we might send our cameras to your party. Get ready for the live Cross Canada Countdown.
Stuff your stocking with laughter. The Winnipeg Comedy Festival is back for its 25th anniversary, and CBC is a proud sponsor. This is your chance to see The Debaters, the mega shows featuring the best of Canadian comedy and all the best homegrown comics making Manitoba laugh. The Winnipeg Comedy Festival, April 20th to 26th. Visit cbc.ca/Manitoba/community for more.
You are listening to Information Radio on CBC Radio 1. I'm Chloe Friesen, filling in this week for Marcy Marcusa. Still to come on the show, after another MP crossed the floor from the Conservatives to the Liberals last week, we'll hear what Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre has to say. As well, it's a 4th winter of war for Ukraine, even as diplomatic conversations are underway trying to find a way to end it. We will hear about the latest developments still to come on the show. And in the next hour, the province is now offering rebates to help businesses beef up security. We will speak with a Winnipeg man whose business has been hit multiple times this year by vandals and thieves. We will hear what he thinks of this new rebate. Those stories and more still to come on the show. If you see anything out there on the commute, I know that some highways could be snowy out there. You can call our commuter line 204-788-3093. Show director Corey Funk is ready to take your calls. It's time now for your CBC local news. Heather Wells will be with us shortly here. A quick look at your weather forecast. I was talking about snow. We're going to see some more of it, most likely. Looking at mainly cloudy skies today with a 30% chance of flurries. Abby Adiemi will have more details on our forecast after your CBC local news.
This is CBC News. Good morning. I'm Heather Wells in Winnipeg. Well, the start of Hanukkah in Winnipeg is being overshadowed by a weekend attack in Australia. 15 people were killed in a shooting on Sydney's Bondi Beach. CBC's Santiago Arias Orozco heard from people at a menorah lighting in Winnipeg.
More than 100 joined in prayer as the first candle of the menorah is lit at the Hava Jewish Center in Winnipeg. Rabbi Boro Heidinsfield helped organize the event Sunday evening.
The celebration over there got cut short in the middle. We need to be able to continue to spread that message and that light and joy of Hanukkah.
At least 15 people are dead after a shooting during a Hanukkah event in Sydney's Bondi Beach. It's a place Australian Rob Williams has been many times. Now living in Winnipeg, he is determined to not let fear drive him away from his Jewish faith.
And stuff like this, it's never stopped us in the past, and as unfortunate and terrible as it is, we'll always see the light through the evil. Winnipeg
police are increasing patrols around synagogues during Hanukkah, a celebration of light coming at a dark moment for those who celebrate it. Santiago Arias Orozco, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Now, other members of Winnipeg's Jewish community continue to mourn the loss of the victims at Bondi Beach. Khalil Rose is rabbi at Congregation Eitz Chaim. Rose says the attack will not deter Winnipeggers from celebrating Hanukkah, and he says they will find strength in their grief.
In times of sorrow, that's what we do as a Jewish community, and we depend on each other. So any tragedy of this magnitude that impacts Jewish people across the world is felt immediately by those of us who are Jewish on this end of the world.
Rose says he wants to see more government officials and community leaders who are not Jewish speak out against anti-Semitism. In other news today, acclaimed Hollywood director and actor Rob Reiner is dead. Reiner's body and the body of his wife, Michelle, were found yesterday at the couple's home in Los Angeles.
Los Angeles police officers, along with the Los Angeles City Fire Department, responded to the 200 block of Chadbourne Avenue here in the city of Brentwood. Upon arrival, they determined that there were two deceased individuals inside of the residence.
L.A. Deputy Police Chief Alan Hamilton. Police officials say they have opened a homicide investigation, and there are media reports the couple's 32-year-old son may be a suspect. Reiner, the son of comedy great Carl Reiner, began his career as an actor on the 1970s sitcom All in the Family. He went on to direct such hit movies as When Harry Met Sally, Stand By Me, A Few Good Men, The Princess Bride, and Spinal Tap, among others. Rob Reiner was 78 years old. You can hear the latest national and international news coming up on World Report at 7. The head of the food bank in Flin Flon says the northern Manitoba city is being left behind in the affordability crisis. Alison Dallas Funk says the food bank has a catchment area of 20,000 people in both Manitoba and Saskatchewan. She says the food bank gets by mostly on local business and community donations. But Dallas Funk says Flin Flon is also a hub for other services and doesn't get enough government support.
We don't have a drop-in shelter. We don't have an overnight shelter. Everybody right now is talking about the price of groceries and food insecurity. You can't rely solely on communities to support these programs when, the average person is having a hard time buying groceries.
The Minister of Municipal and Northern Relations, Glenn Simard, says the food bank can apply for provincial funds. Meanwhile, Bernadette Smith, the minister who oversees homelessness, did not commit to funding an overnight shelter for Flin Flon. Smith says the province is focused on creating and fixing long-term affordable housing and has given $1 million for the construction of a supported housing complex in the city. The chair of Manitoba Hydro's board of directors has resigned. Ben Graham was appointed in 2023. He was formerly CEO for Manitoba Public Insurance and then head of Manitoba Blue Cross. In a statement, a spokesperson for Manitoba Hydro says they're saddened by Graham's departure. It says he led Hydro through changes like plans to rehabilitate aging infrastructure, advance reconciliation, and develop plans to meet Manitoba's energy needs. Finance Minister Adrian Sala thanks Graham for his leadership. The Manitoba Hydro did not specify who will now act as its board chair. You can find more news updated throughout the day. All you have to do is head to cbc.ca/Manitoba.
Thank you very much, Heather.
Thank you.
That is CBC's Heather Wells. Abby Adiemi is back with a look at your weather forecast. Hello.
Hello, Chloe. Starting cloudy across the province this morning, and the north, we're still seeing those frigid conditions with a wind chill close to minus 40 the further you travel north. But for southern Manitoba, Winnipeg right here, still 12 degrees at this time. We're going to stay between 13 degrees and 9 degrees today. 9 degrees actually are high for the day. Other cloudy conditions, light winds, just look out for that high of minus 9 later. There's a slim chance of flurries in the forecast before a breezy evening brings the freezing rain our way. And of course, there's that risk of freezing rain that would stay overnight before our temperature climbs again as we get towards tomorrow morning. Looking at conditions in the Pembina Valley region, Morden, Winkler, Alton and Morris, nearby communities, we're seeing minus 12 there also. Cloudy start, you warm up to minus 9. We do have a slim chance of flurries, followed by a risk of freezing rain this evening as the temperature climbs overnight. In Brandon and the Westman region, we're looking at clear conditions at this time, still tracking minus 18, minus 19, depending on where you are. This will give way to a mix of sun and clouds as you get into the morning. You warm up to about minus 8 later tonight before it brings that risk of freezing rain also that we are tracking for southern Manitoba. Then temperatures will be climbing on Tuesday morning. For Dauphin and regions around the Parkland area, we're looking at light snow falling at this time. Temperatures around minus 10. Your high gets to minus 9 later. A good chance of freezing rain also coming your way around the afternoon period. Then we travel to Gimli and surrounding communities in the Interlake region. We're looking at minus 15s, minus 16s, depending on where you are. Highs would be around minus 9 today. Also, slim chance of flurries in the forecast. We have a good chance of freezing rain coming that way. And then some drizzles will also be present in the evening into the overnight period before your temperature also climbs. For the northern part of the province, starting from the powerful influence surrounding communities, we're looking at those areas sitting around minus 19, minus 20 at this time. Cloudy out there. A good chance of flurries coming your way. Highs would be just around minus 19 for that part of the province. Then for Thompson minus 21 at this time. Cloudy conditions. Slim chance of flurries also in the forecast. It stays cold near minus 19. The wind chill for Thompson feels like minus 27 at this time. Then we track it further towards Tuduli Lake and Gillam, Tuduli Lake, Lynn Lake, Churchill. We're seeing minus 24, minus 26, and about minus 28 in Churchill at this time. Ice crystals are there. Temperatures really bitter in that part of the province due to the wind chill near minus 38, minus 40 this morning. Your high would only be around minus 24 there. A risk of frostbite is in play. There's a crossboard. Outside of this cloudy conditions we're seeing in the south, where we're warming close to most of the regions in the south, we'll see temperatures around minus 9 later today. But up north, it's going to stay cold. So just take it easy there. Winnipeg right now, we are at minus 12. We get to minus 9 later.
All right. Thank you very much, Abby.
Thank you.
That is CBC's Abby Adiemi. Show director Corey Funk is back in the studio for an update on the commute.
Yes, so far quiet commute. Got a call from Dan on a bike. He says that the rapid transit along there is really great for biking. It's all plowed along those bike lanes. So smooth sailing if you're a cyclist, at least along the rapid transit this morning. But if you had an update for me, if you see anything going on the roads, on the highways, on the bike lanes, you can give me a call on the CBC commuter line. That number 204-788-3093.
You are listening to Information Radio on CBC Radio 1, and Crystal E. Ramlakan is here with the Business Report. Good morning.
Hey, good morning, Chloe.
So we're going to get a sense of how much things are costing these days later this morning. Can you break down this, what's happening for us?
Yeah, so Statistics Canada will release its latest inflation reading today. So inflation slowed to 2.2% in October, and that was largely due to lower gas prices. And some economists predict inflation will likely stay the same. And that's because while gas prices rose moderately in November, they were still about 8% below a year ago. And that was thanks to the end of consumer carbon surcharges. And so that leaves energy inflation tracking well below zero. Now, food prices, on the other hand, likely continue to grow, and that's consistent with rising agricultural commodity prices. So RBC says it continues to expect no additional rate cuts from the Bank of Canada in the year ahead, with underlying inflation persistently above target and economic conditions improving. And when it comes to how this is affecting the real estate market, it says rate reductions since the middle of last year should lead to gradual improvements in home resales.
Next, it appears backlash has led to an airline making some changes.
Yes, that's right. So WestJet is pausing a move to install non-reclining seats on a big section of its fleet after pushback from employees and passengers. Now, in September, some people may remember the airline announced it would change the seating of 43 of its Boeing 737 jets to install an extra row and to divide the cabin into several tiers, some with more space and, of course, pricier tickets. And many of the economy seats would have less legroom and would feature a fixed recline design, meaning they could not be tilted back. But now it appears the changes are coming to fewer planes. So in an internal memo obtained by the Canadian press, WestJet's vice president told staff the new configuration will only go ahead on 22 planes for the time being, and 21 of those already have the tighter interior. So there is a broader pattern across the industry of shrinking legroom, smaller seats, and more fees in economy. I'm sure anyone who has flown recently has noticed that. And passengers, of course, can pay more for checked bags, pre-selected seats, and onboard snacks. But there's debate around whether those charges pretty much amount to junk fees or if lower base prices offer greater choice for travelers. And that is, certainly how the airlines market it.
As a almost 6 foot tall human being, I am really crossing my fingers. I am not on one of these planes in the near future. I need the legroom.
I know, gosh, I'm only 5'6", and I feel like my knees are touching the seat in front of me. Not enough room.
Lastly here, Crystal Lee, Ticketmaster is in hot water again. Why is that?
Yeah, so this is because a federal judge in California has ruled that Live Nation and its subsidiary Ticketmaster must face a class action on behalf of millions of Americans. And this is for allegedly overcharging for events at major concert venues across the country. So the judge says the plaintiffs meet the criteria to expand their lawsuit they originally filed in 2022 into a class action. And the class covers consumers who bought tickets all the way back since 2010. So they are seeking 15 years of alleged damages tied to the purchase of more than 400 million tickets. Live Nation is being accused of monopolizing ticketing services, allowing the company to charge artificially high prices, and that is in violation of antitrust law. Now, Live Nation and Ticketmaster have denied any wrongdoing. They say it was the venues, not Ticketmaster, that set fees paid by fans. And Live Nation faces other lawsuits over its ticketing practices as well, including action filed by the U.S. Justice Department and a group of states.
Ooh, definitely one to follow there. Thank you so much, Crystal Lee.
Okay, thanks, Chloe.
That was Crystal Lee Ramlakan with the Business News. Turning to political news, last week Ontario Member of Parliament Michael Ma announced he was leaving the Conservative caucus and joining the Liberals. The move comes just a few weeks after Nova Scotia MP Chris d'Entremont also left the Conservatives to join the government benches. The new additions to the Liberal caucus means Prime Minister Mark Carney is one seat away from a majority government. On Sunday, CBC chief political correspondent Rosemary Barton sat down with Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre for a wide-ranging chat. She asked him if the loss of 2 MPs indicates issues with his leadership. Here's that exchange.
It's a problem of Mark Carney's leadership that after Canadians clearly rejected a costly Liberal majority because they knew it would mean higher grocery prices and higher food costs, he is trying to manipulate his way through backroom deals to get that majority.
Floor crossing is allowed. You've benefited from it.
But he's trying to take a costly majority, that would drive up the cost of living and enrich liberal elites, of course, but not through democratic means. My message to Mark Carney is that if you want a costly majority government to drive up taxes and deficits, then you have to go to the Canadian people and have them vote for it, not do it by dirty backroom deals.
I mean, I know you don't like it, and we can talk about the merits of floor crossing and whether it should be allowed, but it is allowed. So back to my question, is this a sign of a weakness in your leadership that 2 members of your caucus have left?
No, it's a sign of backroom dealings that will drive up the cost of living. And don't take my word for it, take Mr. Ma's word. This is what he said just a few weeks ago. We are in a shameful situation in this country where over 2 million Canadians are visiting food banks every month. At the end of every month, paychecks are not going far enough. Why is that? I'm quoting. The Liberals want to deflect and blame this solely on the trade deficit. However, there's a simple economic fact. When we create more units of currency and map them into the economy, that is not meaningfully producing more goods and services, we get inflation. As a case in point, in the last 5 years, I'll just finish up his quote. In the last 5 years, grocery prices have risen more than 20%. He blames that on Mark Carney's deficit, and that was only a few weeks ago.
What are you doing now? What are you doing now to make sure other caucus members don't leave? What are you saying to them?
Affordability, affordability, affordability. Canadians cannot afford grocery prices because of Carney's hidden liberal taxes on food. What unites all conservatives is the belief that you should be able to have a full bank account, a full fridge, and a full stomach all at the same time.
That was Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre speaking with the CBC's Rosemary Barton on Sunday. There were suggestions in November that Conservative Matt Genereux could also cross the floor, but the Alberta MP instead announced that he would be leaving politics altogether. Genereux hasn't officially resigned, but hasn't voted since his announcement.
Breaking news happens anywhere, anytime.
Police have warned the protesters repeatedly, get back.
CBC News brings the story to you as it happens.
Hundreds of wildfires are burning.
Be the first to know what's going on and what that means for you and for Canadians.
This situation has changed very quickly.
Helping make sense of the world when it matters most. Stay in the know. CBC News.
The time is 6:48. You are listening to Information Radio on CBC Radio 1. I'm Chloe Friesen. Hollywood director Rob Reiner and his wife Michelle were found dead yesterday. Police are investigating their deaths as apparent homicides. Reiner was an actor before becoming a prolific director, and his list of movies include This Is Spinal Tap, When Harry Met Sally, and The Princess Bride. Here's Reiner speaking with the CBC's Valerie Pringle in 1987.
Do you think that you're telling people stories and ultimately, good triumphs or love triumphs or being honest triumphs?
I believe those things, I mean, I don't actively set out to make a film that says those things, but I do believe it. I mean, we made Princess Bride. I mean, it's a fairy tale, but it's not really just a fairy tale. It's a fairy tale for adults. There's a satirical edge to it. But what runs through the core of the story of The Princess Bride is true love, and which is a fairy tale notion. But I believe that at the core of any good relationship between a man and a woman is true love, even in living in a complex society of the 80s where relationships are not easy and they're not simple. If a relationship is going to work and have any kind of longevity, there has to be some core of real, true love there. And I believe those things.
Rob Reiner was 78 and his wife Michelle was 68. Police are investigating their deaths as apparent homicides. Still to come on Information Radio, Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky is in Berlin today, meeting with European leaders and NATO officials, talking about Russia's war and how to end it. We will hear the latest coming up.
On This Is Manitoba, we celebrate who we are, and we lean into the challenges here that can make this place even better. I'm Marcy Marcusa, host of This Is Manitoba. On the podcast, we tackle one topic in a new episode every Friday. It's always about us, the news, and the people here. Get into some local listening. Find and follow This Is Manitoba wherever you get your podcasts.
It is minus 18 in Brandon at the airport. Skies are clear. Looking at a mix of sun and cloud today. Wind up to 15, a high of minus 8. In Thompson, minus 21. Cloudy skies at the airport. You could see a 30% chance of flurries. And right now here in Winnipeg in the downtown, minus 12. Also looking at a 30% chance of flurries. You're listening to Information Radio on CBC Radio 1. It's the fourth winter of war and another Christmas at war for people in Ukraine. Shuttle diplomacy is ongoing in world capitals, but the Kremlin shows no signs it wants to end its invasion. Meanwhile, Ukraine continues to build alliances with European leaders in order to survive. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky is in Germany today for just that purpose. And for more, we're joined by Paul Good. He's a professor and Macmillan Chair of Russian Studies at Carleton University. Welcome to the show, Paul.
Good morning.
So Zelensky is in Berlin today, meeting European leaders and NATO leaders. What are they talking about?
Well, formally, they're talking about security guarantees, and that includes the question of territorial control. This is something that's been pressed by the United States and by Russia. It includes the proposal to create buffer zones in Donbass that are often termed free economic zones that would not have military forces present. Now, generally, Ukraine has opposed giving up any land that it currently controls. Zelensky has said that he believes the fairest approach to be a stand where we stand kind of an approach. Russia has opposed also giving up any territory. In fact, it claims all of Donbass and has continued to threaten to take it by force if Ukraine is unwilling to withdraw. Now, the biggest change or development happened yesterday. The U.S. and Ukraine met in Berlin for 5 hours. And in the course of those talks, or at least beforehand, Zelensky indicated that Ukraine would be willing to give up on the aspiration of NATO membership if it were able to receive guarantees that Europe, the United States, Canada, Japan, Ukraine's allies would come to its defense in the event that Russia reinvaded. So basically providing an Article 5 style guarantee, but without NATO membership.
How would you describe the shuttle diplomacy by the U.S. aimed at ending the war in Ukraine? How is it going?
Well, it's hard to gauge, in part because a lot of what happens behind closed doors. So we know mainly about broad brushstrokes on a number of issues. At the base, negotiations remain stuck on those two key issues of territory and security guarantees. So far, Ukraine is the only party that has demonstrated any willingness to negotiate. Russia has not offered any real concessions. It has been offering side deals to the United States in exchange for a ceasefire, and those side deals include things like lucrative mining and extraction deals in the Arctic. Russia has also recently indicated that it would be willing to remove troops from the buffer zones, from the free economic zones that are proposed for Donbass, but that Russian National Guardsmen and police would remain. So basically that's more semantics than an actual concession. Zelensky has said that part of the problem with the shuttle diplomacy is effectively that the American side has to represent Russia because, Russia's not a party to those negotiations directly with Ukraine. And that means that Ukraine is not just trying to bargain and deal and negotiate with the United States as a mediator, but it's also trying to deal with the United States as a representative of Russian interests. And so that has made for a difficult situation. The added to that is that in terms of domestic politics within Ukraine, any deal that is made with regards to territory through the shuttle diplomacy is something that will have domestic repercussions within Ukraine. So, for instance, with the proposal to cede territory, we know that ceding territory is politically unpopular within Ukraine. So Zelensky has suggested that any plan to give up territory would need to be ratified by a referendum or popular vote within Ukraine. And one can imagine that that would easily scuttle any sort of deal that's brought about by way of the shuttle diplomacy. And on top of that, European allies of the United States and Ukraine are unhappy about any territorial concessions because that appears to basically reward Russia for its aggression. And even Republicans in the United States have been breaking with Trump over his approach to negotiating with Russia. So on the one hand, there's a lot of activity, there's a lot of talk, but there's still a lot of distance between the different parties, not just in terms of positions internationally, but also even within their domestic politics.
Paul, before we let you go here, I'm curious, what do we know about both the situation on the battlefront this winter and also civilian life for folks in Ukraine?
Well, there hasn't been a lot of shifts on the battlefront. I mean, there's been a lot of headlines that Russia has been making large advances, but the reality is that Russia has gained less than 1% of Ukraine's territory in 2025, and that's come at the cost of an estimated 900 to 1,200 casualties per day. Ukraine's position has not fundamentally changed. It's currently launching a counteroffensive, or at least it claims to be launching a counteroffensive. But we do know that military aid to Ukraine has been declining, especially since the United States withdrew from providing direct military aid and effectively requiring European allies to purchase that aid from the United States, from its stockpiles, and to send it onward. So if that aid continues to decline, that could have a knock-on effect, of course, on the battlefield in terms of weakening Ukraine's position. And then in terms of civilian life, throughout Ukraine, the country has been pounded. Russia has been striking Ukraine's energy grid with missile and drone attacks. That makes heating and electricity unreliable. In the winter months, that can be especially dangerous. It's extremely stressful psychologically, 4 years of war, even though Ukrainians are extremely resilient. And life along the front lines is harrowing by all accounts, and that area is slowly being depopulated. Right now, there are maybe 500,000 people that remain within 20 kilometers of the front lines. That's based on UN estimates. And many of those people are extremely vulnerable, elderly and limited mobility. And so the situation is grim, even though Ukraine continues to hold the line.
Paul, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you very much.
Paul Good is a professor and Macmillan Chair of Russian Studies at Carleton University. We reached him in Ottawa. It's time now for a look at news headlines with Heather Wells.
Good morning. Well, Winnipeg police are increasing their patrols at synagogues in the coming days. It comes after two gunmen opened fire at a crowd on Bondi Beach in Sydney, Australia during a Hanukkah celebration over the weekend. 15 people died. We'll hear more on that story coming up on World Report at 7. The chair of Manitoba Hydro's board of directors has resigned. Ben Graham was appointed in 2023. He was formerly the CEO of MPI and then the head of Manitoba Blue Cross. Manitoba Hydro did not specify who now will act as the utilities board chair. I'll be back with more Manitoba news coming up at 7:30.
Thank you very much, Heather.
Thank you.
That is CBC's Heather Wells. Still to come in the next hour of Information Radio, we are going to hear from a local rabbi after 15 people at a Hanukkah celebration were killed in what police are describing as an act of terrorism. This was the mass shooting in Sydney, Australia, we've been hearing about that happened on Sunday. As well, giving back by learning a trade. Still to come, we will hear about how a community group is building beds for kids in need. And a Manitoba business owner says he likes a new provincial program that offers rebates to help improve security. In fact, he's already put his name in, but he says more needs to be done to keep businesses safe. We will hear more about that and many more stories still to come on Information Radio. Stay with us.
Today on The Current.
You've had no power since
the
storm.
No light, no power, nothing.
When Hurricane Melissa hit Jamaica in October, it was the strongest storm in that island's history, left a train of devastation. The CBC's David Common brings us the stories from the hardest hit areas, still picking up the pieces, coming up on The Current.
The Current with Matt Galloway. This morning at 8:37, 9:07 in Newfoundland, and on the CBC Listen app.
This is World Report. Good morning. I'm Angie Seth.
Tributes are pouring in for Hollywood director Rob Reiner. He and his wife Michelle were found dead in their Los Angeles home yesterday. Police are investigating. They say they're treating this as a homicide. Steve Futterman has more on the investigation and Reiner's legacy.
Boy, the way Glenn Miller played.
This is how the world was introduced to Rob Reiner. He played the liberal son-in-law in the landmark 1970s sitcom All in the Family, often battling his conservative father-in-law Archie Bunker, who referred to Reiner's character as Meathead.
Like I said before, that you ain't got no respect.
Oh, it's respect has to be earned.
So does a living, but that don't mean nothing to you.
Overnight here in the Brentwood section of Los Angeles near Reiner's home, police spent the night conducting their investigation. Deputy Police Chief Alan Hamilton.
Los Angeles police officers, along with the Los Angeles City Fire Department, responded to the 200 block of Chadbourne Avenue here in the city of Brentwood. Upon arrival, they determined that there were 2 deceased individuals inside of the residence.
Although police did not officially confirm the deaths, Reiner's family did. According to media reports, the person under suspicion is his 32-year-old son, Nick, who has dealt with mental health issues. In addition to his acting, Reiner also won acclaim directing such films as When Harry Met Sally and A Few Good Men.
You want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth! You can't handle the truth!
Among those expressing shock at Reiner's death, former U.S. President Barack Obama, he said Reiner had a deep belief in goodness. Steve Futterman, CBC News, Los Angeles.
A person of interest who was detained in connection to a shooting at Rhode Island's Brown University is being released.
Certainly there was some degree of evidence that pointed to this individual, but that evidence needed to be corroborated and confirmed. And over the last 24 hours, leading into just very, very recently, that evidence now points in a different direction.
Attorney General Peter Nerona speaking during a late-night news conference. 2 students were killed, 9 others injured when a person opened fire inside a classroom on Saturday. The man in his 20s was taken into custody and questioned early yesterday. And while officials say there's no immediate threat to the community, classes and exams at Brown have been canceled for the rest of the year. Australian leaders are vowing to overhaul national gun control laws after the deadly weekend shooting on Sydney's Bondi Beach. 15 people were killed and several more injured while attending a festival marking the beginning of Hanukkah. Officials are calling the shooting a terrorist attack. Phil Mercer joins us now from Bondi Beach, where there's a growing memorial for the victims. So Phil, what are we hearing? What are we learning more about the people who were killed?
Well, we're learning who they were and a bit about their lives. We know that the 15 victims include a 10-year-old girl called Matilda and an 87-year-old Holocaust survivor. We know that there was a British-born rabbi, a father of 5, who worked in a Jewish centre in Sydney, a man who was a former police detective who was working as a photographer. And also, we heard details of another man who died, apparently protecting his wife from gunfire. So throughout the day, we've learned more about the victims of this atrocity, and we've also learned more about the people who perpetrated it. Unbelievably, a father and son, 50 and 24 years of age, who were responsible for the attack. The older man was shot dead by the police at the scene. The younger man is critically ill in hospital.
Just an unbelievably, as you say, tragic situation. What are we hearing from authorities?
This will be an exhaustive process for Australia. There will, you'd imagine, be multiple inquiries into the response by the government in terms of allegations that it hasn't taken anti-Semitism and the rise of anti-Jewish sentiment seriously in this country. There will clearly be an investigation into the backgrounds of this father and son who perpetrated this mass shooting, and also the response of the emergency services. Then, of course, gun controls. So many issues for Australia to wade through. And perhaps the most serious is, how does Australia deal with this trauma?
Reporter Phil Mercer at Bondi Beach. Phil, thank you for this.
Thank you.
As a fragile ceasefire in Gaza holds, there are growing concerns for those inside the region in need of urgent health care. The World Health Organization says more than 16,000 patients are waiting for medical evacuations from Gaza. Many are critically ill. One of the countries taking in Gazans is Turkey. The CBC's Briar Stewart traveled there.
Whenever that alarm sounds, it means that 9-month-old Habiba Abu Zarqa's blood sugar is dropping. Her father, Hani Mohammed Abu Zarqa, checks an app on his phone and explains that she requires a special formula that she's fed through a nasal tube. The family was brought to Adana, Turkey 3 months ago. At the time, they were a family of 5 with 2 very ill children. Habiba needed medical treatment, and so did her 5-year-old brother, Abdullah, who was suffering from several conditions, including an illness that made his bones weak. With the war and with no medication, his condition got worse, his father said. Abdullah died a few days after arriving in Turkey. The family of 4 is now living in a temporary housing complex while Habiba receives medical treatment. But in Gaza, thousands are still waiting to be transferred abroad for care.
This is one of the most difficult situation and the critical
Dr. Ahmed Al-Farah is director of pediatrics at Gaza's Nasser Hospital. He says several hundred patients have died while waiting for medical evacuations.
Sometimes you have the patient, you have the correct diagnosis, and you don't have the drug or the medication that you need.
Abu Zarqa says the family held a memorial service for their son in Turkey, and now they're focused on the health of their baby. He says he can't even begin to think about when they might be able to return to Gaza, just what kind of life they would be going back to. Briar Stewart, CBC News, Adana, Turkey.
A Hong Kong court has convicted media mogul Jimmy Lai under China's imposed national security law. A 3-judge panel found him guilty of conspiracy to collude with foreign forces and publish seditious articles. Sebastian Lai is his son.
What we've seen today and actually over the past 5 years is a complete breakdown of the Hong Kong legal system.
He says Britain should not agree to closer relations with China unless his father is released from police custody. Lai was the founder of the now-defunct Daily Apple newspaper, a pro-democracy campaigner, and an outspoken critic of Beijing. The 78-year-old could face up to life in prison. CBC News is investigating the state of jails as politicians consider bail reforms that could lead to more people being incarcerated. The stats show there are thousands more inmates than beds in Ontario jails, and prisoner complaints have doubled over the past 6 years. As Julie Ireton reports, a lot of those complaints are about access to health care.
I knew something wasn't right about this pregnancy.
Ashley Stevens was pregnant when she was charged with uttering threats, mischief, and assault. She violated her bail conditions and was sent to the Ottawa jail. Weeks later, she lost her baby.
I kept telling their nurses, I'm still bleeding a lot. But sometimes couldn't even get pads.
Then, an unrelated wound on her buttocks got infected. She says it got so bad she needed surgery for both the pregnancy loss and the wound.
I got sepsis, and the doctor even said if I didn't come in when I did, I would have been dead.
Stevens is among many prisoners with health issues. This year, more than a third of all complaints filed in jail were about access to care.
The health complaints jump off the page. These are not frivolous claims.
Justin Pichet is a criminology professor at the University of Ottawa.
People with health issues often end up behind bars. They don't have enough staff. They don't have enough resources for that. And the prison is not a hospital.
The province's data show 1,000 medical professionals were considered active staff in 2019. This year, that number dropped to around 550. Ontario's Ministry of the Solicitor General says it's hiring 2,500 staff, including nurses. Ashley Stevens pleaded guilty to some of the charges against her. The judge acknowledged her medical hardship when handing down her sentence. Julie Ireton, CBC News, Ottawa.
And that's the latest national and international news from World Report. For news anytime, go to cbcnews.ca. I'm Angie Seth. This is CBC News.
Good morning, Manitoba. I'm Chloe Friesen, filling in for Marcy Marcusa. You're listening to Information Radio on CBC Radio 1. 89.3 FM, 990 AM on our YouTube live stream or anywhere on your CBC Listen app. Thanks for joining us this Monday morning. Coming up on the show, Winnipeg's crackdown on encampments is forcing people out just as temperatures drop. Coming up, we'll hear from the West Central Women's Resource Centre on why outreach workers are finding it difficult to find safe shelter for people being displaced. As well, we'll hear from a local rabbi after 15 people at a Hanukkah celebration were killed in a mass shooting in Sydney over the weekend. But coming up first, the province is now offering rebates to help businesses beef up security. We'll speak with a Winnipeg business owner who applied. But first, a look at news headlines with CBC's Heather Wells.
Good morning. Well, the start of the 8-day celebration of Hanukkah is being overshadowed by the weekend's deadly shooting in Sydney. As you mentioned, 15 people were killed on Bondi Beach in what authorities say was a terrorist attack. Rob Williams is an Australian Jew who now lives in Winnipeg, and he says he's determined not to let fear drive him from celebrating his faith. The head of the food bank in Flin Flon says that northern city is being left behind in the affordability crisis. Alison Dallas Funk says the food bank has a catchment area of 20,000 people, both in Manitoba and Saskatchewan. And Dallas Funk says they need to get some government support. I'll be back with more Manitoba news coming up at 7:30.
Thank you very much, Heather.
Thank you.
That is CBC's Heather Wells. Abby Adiemi, our studio technician, is here with a look at your weather forecast. Hello.
Hello, Chloe. I'm just tracking it. The southern half of the map is going to start feeling that little warmer this afternoon, but we're still seeing the deep freeze hold the northern part of the province this morning. Conditions around Winnipeg and the Red River Valley region, we're looking at -12 at this time. Cloudy skies outside. Expect our highs to be around -9 later. However, you need to watch out for that risk of freezing rain or drizzle late tonight as temperatures will be pushing back towards zero, so we're expecting that change to happen. For the southern part of the province, Brandon, Dauphin, Gimli, we're seeing similar highs. Most of the regions will see temperatures close to a -9 today, and that chance of flurries and freezing rain will be developing later in the afternoon into the evening. But further north, we're looking at that severe cold still holding things down. We're talking about wind chills in the valleys of -27 around Thompson, and even towards we're looking at towards the Par Flin Flon this morning. Well, for Churchill, conditions still extreme. It's going to get sunny later, but it stays frigid. We're going to see temperatures stay around -28, 29 with wind chill in the valleys of -38. So frostbite is still a major concern in the Churchill region towards Tuduli Lake and Lynn Lake. Overall, cloudy, cold wind today across the province, but the south is going to warm, pushing temperatures close to -7s and -9s, while Winnipeg sits at -12 at this time, heading to -9.
Thank you very much, Abby.
Thank you.
And hello and thank you to Darren Morash, who is running our YouTube live stream. Hello, thank you, Darren. Corey Funk, our show director, is here with an update on the commute.
Yes, quiet commute so far. Haven't heard any major issues. In fact, the only call I've got is actually a positive call from Dan on a bike. He says the rapid transit bike lanes are wonderfully plowed. So smooth sailing if you're down on a bike heading on those rapid transit lanes. Though if you do see something going on, if you're walking your bike and you drive in, you want to let me know about it, you can give me a call, 204-788-3093.
Well, if you own a business, this is likely good news. Businesses in Manitoba can now get up to $2,500 to cover the cost of added security or fixing damage. Last week, the Manitoba government announced the $10 million rebate program. Chris Barnier is with Restaurants Canada. He says safety is key to a company being successful.
The only comparable program that we're aware of is one out in BC, and it was about $3,000 per business. But if you had multiple locations, you couldn't apply for multiple locations. This one is like to have it be retroactive, to have it be upwards of 75 full-time equivalent workers in each business location. And looking at a number of the things that are eligible, it really is a great program, and it is the best that we see in Canada.
That is Chris Barnier with Restaurants Canada. Curtis Howson is the owner of First Row Collectibles in Winnipeg. His business, which sells things like sports cards and movie memorabilia, has been targeted by thieves multiple times this year. He applied for this new rebate. Curtis and I spoke on Monday.
Hi, how are you?
I am doing well. For folks who haven't heard your story, your business has been hit by crime multiple times within this past year. Can you remind us what all happened?
Yeah, so earlier this year we had a break-in. I'm located at 1835 Main Street in Winnipeg here, and Main Street being one of the busiest streets, I didn't think I had anything to worry about anybody coming in through our front window. So the first break-in was at 12:15 a.m. and we had a couple guys smash the window and kind of get their hands in, and were able to open up the door. In that particular break-in, we lost about $10,000 worth of Pokemon cards. The second break-in happened in October, and we had one guy that came in and stole about $500 worth of collectibles. The good news is the Winnipeg police were able to apprehend him, and we didn't get our stuff back, but he was off the streets and dealt with that after that. So there was a happy ending to that. But it's been a couple times that I got that unfortunate call from the Winnipeg police early in the morning that my business was broken into.
So you talked about the cost of the merchandise that was stolen, but what sort of costs were you looking at in terms of repairs from the damage that was done?
Yeah, so the window itself is an older window that needs to be custom made, and so right now we're waiting for it. And the estimate damage on that was about $10,000. So it's crazy, and just right now it's the holiday season, and I have a boarded up window. I have a white board that's on my my shop, and it's not it's not the prettiest thing when you're a customer coming in to buy things. So it's kind of it's really hurt us at this time of year.
Pivoting to the news that we've just heard, what's your reaction to the province's new rebate program for businesses?
Yeah, I'm very grateful for that. That's so awesome. I applied yesterday, and it is first come first serve. So I am hoping to get that email or call that I was accepted. And what I'd like to do with that is I'd like to use it for shutters.
What kind of shutters?
Just something for overnight where I'm able to lock down my windows and lock down my doors and just add some extra security to my building. The back door has been taken care of. We're good with that, but it just seems as though the thieves like to enter through the windows. So I need to protect our business there and protect ourselves at nighttime. And hopefully these shutters will help deter any type of thieves from coming in.
So eligible businesses, if you do get this call, you could get up to $2,500 for your business. Would that be enough to cover this?
Not quite. It's probably going to take. It'll probably take care of about 25% of the cost itself. But I'll take what I can, and I'm grateful for that extra help. But yeah, it's not going to take care of the whole thing. That's for sure.
Does part of you wish it was more?
Part of me does, but I mean, I'm very grateful that the government is helping out at this particular time, because there's so many businesses like mine. If you drive up and down Main Street or Portage Avenue, you see all these boarded up windows here in Winnipeg, and it's not pretty. So I'm really glad that they're helping out right now, because we could all use the help.
What else do you think is needed to help protect businesses from crime beyond this rebate? What else could the province do?
Well, I think that I'm seeing it now with a lot of community groups that are doing community walks and kind of taking it into their own hands to kind of help out the community and just kind of patrol things and help a lot of people that are in need right now, because I think that a lot of these break-ins are a direct cause of addictions and the homelessness that are in the city. So I think a lot of these groups that are helping out are really going to do a lot of good. With helping, helping what's going on in the city right now.
Have you heard from any other fellow business owners about how this rebate might help them?
No, I haven't yet, because it's so new. It's been over the last 24 hours, but I'm looking. I'm going to call a few of my friends today and see if they applied and see what they're doing with their $2,500.
Curtis, lastly here, what do you think consumers should be thinking about right now if they hear that a business has either been broken into or they walk by your business and they see a board in place of the window?
Well, just know that we're open. We're open for business, and there's so many businesses like mine that are really suffering right now. This time during year with the holiday season, if you're going to shop, I really recommend shopping local and helping out because, a lot of businesses like mine have had a really tough year when it comes to theft and just some of the things that have been happening in the city. I love this city. I want to help contribute to making it better, and I think that business here in Winnipeg, will help that. If you're in the city and you're looking to shop, please shop local because we could really use your support.
Appreciate your time, Curtis. Thank you.
Anytime. Take care.
Curtis Housen is the owner of First Row Collectibles. We spoke last week on Friday.
CBC's New Year's Eve show is back, and we want to know, what are you doing on New Year's Eve? Last year, we reached 6.8 million Canadians as we counted down live in all 6 time zones. Now, we're looking to join celebrations across Canada. Are you getting married? Doing something special? Send an email to ask@cbc.ca, and we might send our cameras to your party. Get ready for the live Cross Canada Countdown.
I am especially looking forward to that broadcast as I will be the Manitoban who is part of that broadcast. I will be hosting from an unknown location so far. We've got some ideas. We've heard from some Manitobans, so you will have to wait and see. But I am so excited to spend New Year's Eve with you all. Before we get to sports here, we have time for a little bit of music. This is Winnipeg dream pop group Living Hour with some music from their 2025 album. This is Best I Did It.
Preparedness for transformation, performance, posthumous display of some grisly bits of pigeon on the side of the highway. Everything's bright gray. Can't tell if it's real or just in the way.
That was Living Hour with Best I Did It. It's from their latest 2025 album, Internal Drone Infinity. Well, the time is 7:25. It's time to check in with Scott Regehr with Sports News. Good morning.
Internal Drone Infinity?
Indeed.
Wow.
I know.
It's a title and a half.
It's a good one.
Yeah.
Scott, let's start with speed skating and an encouraging result for an Olympic champion.
But here they come, pushing towards the finish. It is very close, and it is, in the end, Team Canada. It finishes just in front of the United States.
That's the sound, Chloe, of Ivani Blondin, Isabelle Weidman, and Valerie Malte winning Team Pursuit gold yesterday at an event in Norway. The defending champions from the Beijing Games, it's the first time they've topped the podium at a World Cup event in close to a year. And it wasn't easy. Weideman slipped off of the start, and Canada played catch-up for most of the close to 2.5-kilometer long race. And they did catch up with just a couple 100 meters to go. So good to see one of this country's biggest gold medal hopes for the Milan Cortina Games rounding into form, Chloe. Over the years, Canada has won 42 Olympic medals in long track. It's most in any winter sport, with the likes of Gaëtan Boucher, Katrina Lemaidona, and Winnipeg's Cindy Klassen achieving legendary status in that sport.
I am so excited to watch more speed skating at the Winter Olympics. Always so fun. But we're going to turn to hockey now and a memorable weekend on the ice.
Yeah, the Jets are coming off of a 5-1 win over Washington, which saw the return of Connor Hellebuck. No word yet, Chloe, on who's starting in goal tonight, but considering the time off between games and lack of travel, it'll probably be Hellebuck as Winnipeg hosts Ottawa. Puck drop is at 6:30 for that one. Meantime, preparations continue for the upcoming World Junior Championship. All eyes will be on Gavin McKenna, the phenom from the Yukon, who many believe will be the top pick in the next NHL draft. But will he? After lighting up the WHL, McKenna took his talents to Penn State University, where he's managed a good but not great campaign. He has 18 points in 16 games. McKenna was asked about the talk that he might not go first overall now.
I'm confident going in the tournament. There's a lot of chatter on my year and stuff, but it's a growth year for me. Playing against harder guys. I could have stayed in the dub and put up a bunch of points, but I wanted to challenge myself this year, and I've been getting challenged. So I think that, being in the NCAA prepares me for this tournament, and hopefully I have a good one.
At training camp in Niagara Falls, McKenna has been skating on Canada's top line and power play unit. The Canadians will play their first warm-up game on Wednesday in Kitchener, Ontario. That one's against Sweden.
Let's finish with football and an injury-filled Sunday in the NFL.
Really was, including Patrick Mahomes suffering a torn knee ligament. The Kansas City quarterback, Chloe, is done for the season, as are his team, at least when it comes to trying to win a Super Bowl. For the first time in more than a decade, KC will not make the playoffs. So condolences to Taylor Swift. Meanwhile, it looks like Micah Parsons suffered the same injury that Mahomes did, and losing one of the league's best pass rushers could have a massive impact on his team. Green Bay, Chloe, has looked like a legitimate contender for a championship this season. So had Indianapolis before they lost their starting quarterback, Daniel Jones, to an Achilles tear. Now the Colts are relying upon 44-year-old Phillip Rivers to guide their offense. Coming out of retirement, the grandfather and high school football coach nearly led the Colts to a win in Seattle yesterday.
Maybe it will inspire or teach not to run or be scared of what may or may not happen. Certainly, I think of my sons and those ball players, that I'm in charge of at the school, that they'll say, like, Coach wasn't scared. You know what I mean? It's like, shoot, sometimes there is doubt, and it's real. And the guaranteed safe bet is to go home or to not go for it. And the other one is, shoot, let's see what happens. I hope that, in that sense, that it can be a positive.
For not having played in 5 years, Rivers looked pretty solid yesterday. Had Seattle not kicked a last-minute field goal, Indianapolis would have won the game.
I love the mantra of, shoot, let's see what happens.
Exactly. I think more of us could employ that
It's a good way to live. Thank you, Scott.
You betcha.
That is Scott Regehr with CBC Sports. The time is 7:29. We are going to be heading to your CBC local news shortly here. But coming up, giving back by learning a trade. We will hear about Oyate Teepee's bed building program. As well, we will hear from a local rabbi after 15 people at a Hanukkah celebration were killed in a mass shooting in Sydney, Australia over the weekend. Those stories and more coming up after your CBC local news.
This is CBC News. Good morning. I'm Heather Wells in Winnipeg. At 7:30, it is -12. You can already feel the temperature climbing, and it will keep on rising to -9 in Winnipeg this afternoon. And it doesn't stop there. Overnight tonight, we climb to 0. However, we are expecting a chance of freezing rain or freezing drizzle late this evening. Well, the start of Hanukkah in Winnipeg is being overshadowed by a weekend attack in Australia. 15 people were killed in a shooting on Bondi Beach. CBC's Santiago Arias Orozco has heard from people at a menorah lighting in Winnipeg.
More than 100 join in prayer as the first candle of the menorah is lit at the Hava Jewish Center in Winnipeg. Rabbi Boro Heidinsfield helped organize the event Sunday evening.
The celebration over there got cut short in the middle. We need to be able to continue to spread that message and that light and joy of Hanukkah.
At least 15 people are dead after a shooting during a Hanukkah event in Sydney's Bondi Beach. It's a place Australian Rob Williams has been many times. Now living in Winnipeg, he is determined to not let fear drive him away from his Jewish faith.
And stuff like this, it's never stopped us in the past, and as unfortunate and terrible as it is, we'll always see the light through the evil.
Winnipeg police are increasing patrols around synagogues during Hanukkah, a celebration of light coming at a dark moment for those who celebrate it. Santiago Arias Orozco, CBC News, Winnipeg.
The head of the Jewish Federation of Winnipeg says more people need to stand up against anti-Semitism. Jeff Lieberman calls the Bondi Beach attack shocking and saddening.
It's difficult being a Jew to have to live through this, for being attacked just because we're Jewish. We should have the rights to live like everyone else in a democracy, and it's horrible that these things are happening to Jews around the world.
Lieberman says he spoke to Winnipeg Mayor Scott Gillingham about the incident yesterday. In a statement, Manitoba Premier Rob Canoe also condemns anti-Semitism. You can hear more on this story and the local impacts coming up in this next half hour right here on Information Radio. Acclaimed Hollywood director and actor Rob Reiner is dead. Reiner's body and the body of his wife Michelle were both found yesterday at the couple's home in Los Angeles.
Los Angeles police officers, along with the Los Angeles City Fire Department, responded to the 200 block of Chadbourne Avenue here in the city of Brentwood. Upon arrival, they determined that there were 2 deceased individuals inside of the residence.
LA Deputy Police Chief Alan Hamilton. Police officials say they have opened a homicide investigation, and media reports say the couple's 32-year-old son may be a suspect. Reiner, the son of comedy great Carl Reiner, began his career as an actor on the 1970s sitcom All in the Family. He went on to direct such hit movies as When Harry Met Sally, Stand By Me, A Few Good Men, The Princess Bride, and Spinal Tap, among others. Rob Reiner was 78 years old. His wife, Michelle, was 68. You can hear more national and international news coming up on World Report at 8. People in Flin Flon say they feel left behind in the cost of living crisis. As CBC's Rosanna Hempel reports, they want area communities and the province to step up.
It's not nice.
Valerie Colombe and her 2 kids have been couch surfing for 4 years. Now they're at her sister's house in Flin Flon with about 10 other people. Colombe is originally from Puckatawagan, northeast of the city, and gets help from the Flin Flon Food Bank. The executive director there, Alison Dallas Funk, says it gets by mostly on local donations, despite serving many communities outside the city.
Ideally, all communities would contribute
somewhat to our food bank. If there was consistent and everybody collectively supported it, it wouldn't be such a burden on one community.
Dallas Funk says Flin Flon also doesn't have an overnight shelter and urges the province to pitch in. Minister Bernadette Smith, who oversees the homelessness file, says the province is focused on creating and fixing long-term affordable housing. She says that includes $1 million for a supported housing complex that's expected to be taking tenants in 2027. Rosanna Hempel, CBC News, Flin Flon.
The chair of Manitoba Hydro's board of directors has resigned. Ben Graham was appointed in 2023. He was formerly CEO at MPI and then head of Manitoba Blue Cross. In a statement, a spokesperson for Manitoba Hydro says they're saddened by Graham's departure. It says he led Hydro through a number of changes, including plans to rehabilitate aging infrastructure, advance reconciliation, and develop plans to meet Manitoba's energy needs. Finance Minister Adrian Sala thanks Graham for his leadership. Manitoba Hydro did not specify who will now act as board chair. You can find more news updated throughout the day. All you have to do is head to cbc.ca/Manitoba.
Thank you very much, Heather.
Thank you.
That is CBC's Heather Wells. You're listening to Information Radio. I'm Chloe Friesen, filling in this week for Marcy Marcusa. Abby Adiemi is here as per usual with an update on not the commute. That's Corey's job, Abby.
True.
You're here with the weather.
The weather with a commute. But weather first. As we approach the afternoon period, we're going to see most of the regions in the southern part of the province warm up. But up north, we're seeing those frigid conditions and the extreme wind chill still present. Looking at conditions right now in Winnipeg, Chloe, -12, mostly cloudy outside. We just have light winds, so it's not really going to feel uncomfortable as you make your way about this morning. We do have a slim chance of flurries in the forecast, actually. We warm up to about -9 later. Tonight, we'll see a good chance of freezing rain or drizzle late, and then the temperatures will be dropping to about 0 when we get overnight. By the morning, tomorrow looks even milder. We're talking about a mix of rain and snow, and I see a plus, Chloe. I see a plus in the forecast for Winnipeg tomorrow.
A plus,
like +3,
above 0,
like above 0, 3 degrees above 0 for tomorrow in Winnipeg. Then conditions in this rest of the southern part of the province, the Pembina Valley region, we're looking at more than Winkler out and tracking it towards the U.S. border, -12 at this time, also warming to -9 later. Brandon sitting at -18, some frosty conditions you're getting there, but expect sunshine that will help bring up your high to about -8 on the mild winds. Dauphin, you are waking up to light snow, -11 at this time. Some freezing rain also developing this afternoon before you reach your high of -9 later. For conditions in the Interlake region, Gimli and surrounding areas, chilly -13 at this time. Cloudy also there, a slim chance of flurries. Daytime high gets to -9. The Par, Flin Flon and surrounding communities -19 at this time. A good chance of flurries in the forecast. It's going to stay cold. Your high will be just about -14 and the wind chill in the range of -22. Thompson, bitterly cold, -22 at this time. A slim chance of flurries also in the forecast. You only warm up to -19 later, but watch out for that wind chill. It feels like -27. Then for Churchill, around -28 at this time. We're seeing ice crystals there. Sunny conditions coming your way. That will not warm things much. You're going to get to a high of about -24. And that extreme wind chill this morning feels like -38 this morning. So frostbite is still a concern for folks around the Churchill and the York region. So we're looking at chilly conditions in the north, and the south is warming up. And I'm waiting for the +3. I want to know what it looks like tomorrow.
I'm thinking
I've missed what conditions feel like when it's above 0.
I'm thinking puddles. I'm predicting puddles.
But we're going to get freezing rain also. So
okay, yeah, maybe not great for the roads. Corey Funk will be on that tomorrow.
Probably gonna
but
be pretty slushy, I'm guessing.
Yeah, but for today, not too bad.
Not too bad so far today. It seems like things are fairly well plowed. Got a call from down on a bike that those bike lanes along Rapid Transit are well plowed. Other than that, though, it seems like fairly uneventful so far. But if it is eventful where you are, I'd love to hear from you. If you're walking your bike and you're driving, you can give me a call on the CBC commuter line. That number, 204-788-3093.
Thank you very much, Corey.
Thank you.
And thank you to Darren Morash, who is in charge of our YouTube live stream. Always keeps it looking nice. You're listening to Information Radio on CBC Radio 1. And as we all know, sleep is very important. It's especially important for children. But not all kids have a comfortable place to rest. That's why Oyate Teepee is helping get more beds to those in need. The Winnipeg-based Furniture Bank has made 250 beds this year with the help of volunteers. The beds are made out of 2x4s and are delivered complete with mattresses, pillows, and bedding. CBC Manitoba community reporter Shannon Lee Vidal was at a recent bed building session that included some local young people.
We just got the idea that, you know what, these kids need beds. We can't have them sleeping on the floor. So we figured, okay, well, let's just start building bed frames for these kids. My name is Greg Georgeson. I'm the executive director of Oyate Teepee. Sleep is so important to, mental well-being, their ability to learn in school. As a whole, there's usually 10 to 12 beds a week go out of this place at minimum. The bed building program started just over 2 years ago. We work with a number of youth groups in the city. Part of our volunteer program when they come here is to be able to get out, meet and mingle with other people, see how workplaces function, and also be able to give them a sense of community.
I think that's going to be great because, there were times where I had to sleep on couches and the grounds and whatever. It's like a tough situation sometimes people are in, but honestly, I think that they're going to be super happy receiving beds. I'm 19 years old. My name is Cashin Guimond. I grew up in Winnipeg most of my life. I'm from Seguin, and this is my first time building a bed actually, and I really enjoy it. It makes me feel really happy that I'm helping people, and also I'm helping myself too, be a better person in society.
They're working just as each other.
Anyone that comes in that doesn't really know kind of leaves with a lot more experience and a little more confidence. My name is Jarrell Dupuy. I'm the workshop manager at Oyate Teepee. Just about sort of rasping down any of the harsher splinters, and then we sand, not to like cylinder smooth, but just enough that we can let the oil sink in.
They could be learning how to measure out material, how to use the larger power saws, how to finish the wood.
Straight into there. Kids especially. There's a lot of people that don't get to sleep on a comfortable bed or a mattress even. So it's good that we give people experience and get the products we make go to a good cause.
So I'm doing this on my own account. No one's telling me to do it. I just figured I'd help you forward. But if you kind of put yourself in their shoes, wouldn't you want someone to help you?
There's no better job satisfaction than watching some of these kids smile and build beds, and then also watching those beds get delivered to families that so desperately need them.
Yeah, I would love to come back. This is a wonderful place.
Thanks to CBC Manitoba community reporter Shannon Lee Vidal for bringing us that story. And thanks also to videographers Travis Golby and Rudy Gower. By the way, Oyate Teepee is in need of donations of new pillows, sheets, and mattresses to accompany the beds that are being built. You can learn more at oyateteepee.com. That's OYATETIPI.com. OYATE, Oyate, TIPI, TP.com.
I'm Suresh Das. I've spent my career writing about the local favorites that make Canada's food scene truly unique. I bit into a chili. Woo! From vibrant street food to comforting traditional dishes.
The most important ingredients in jollof rice, love.
To innovative, personal twists. Butter chicken lasagna.
Butter chicken lasagna, that's what made it all happen.
I believe every bite tells a story. Now, I want to share those stories with you.
New series Locals Welcome with Suresh Das. Watch free on CBC Gem.
The time is 7:43. We're listening to Information Radio on CBC Radio 1. At least 15 people were killed yesterday in what Australian authorities are calling an act of anti-Semitic terrorism. Hundreds had gathered at the beach on Sunday for an event called Hanukkah by the Sea, which celebrates the start of Hanukkah. Witnesses say it was until rounds of shots sent people running away from the beach and into nearby streets and parks. One suspected gunman is dead and another is in critical condition after a random civilian managed to wrestle the gun off the attacker and disarm him. Police are still working to find out if others were involved. CBC's Aaron Broman spoke with a local rabbi yesterday. Cleel Rose is spiritual leader of Winnipeg's Eitz Chaim congregation. Here's some of that conversation now.
I found out about this like many others. It was on my news feed, on my phone when I looked at it this morning. And once again, I was in shock. It just feels like one more blow after another, a barrage of all of these events that continue to happen towards the Jewish community, not just in North America, but now, of course, throughout the world.
This one is I think, one of the worst to happen outside of Israel. What goes through your mind when you consider what happened here?
Yeah, initially I thought of dear friends who live in Sydney. I have a friend who's a rabbi. I have a congregation there. My niece is on a semester abroad in Australia, in Sydney. And fortunately, it turns out she was in Bali, so she's fine. And I'm still waiting to hear back from this friend who's a rabbi in Sydney. And so immediately I go to those personal connections, and then I think about the gruesome nature of this and the tragedy. I've never been there to that part of the world, but it's supposed to be a gorgeous beach celebrating a holiday that's supposed to whose theme is bringing light into the darkest period of the year, of the calendar, and so many other hopeful themes behind this particular holiday. And for this to happen, this terrorist attack, once again, to hit the Jewish community feels just devastating and so incredibly tragic.
Mm-hmm. With your own center, with your own synagogue, how is this impacting anything you might be doing?
Of course, it's impacting everything we're doing. We my team and I have been on the phone since this morning, back and forth, trying to figure out what is the way that we need to ensure that we have the safest physically facility, and what is the safest on the emotional, spiritual level protection that we can provide to the people who are going to be entering into our sacred space. And I can imagine that for some, they want to stay far away from anything remotely connected to the Jewish community. And on the other hand, my sense is that there'll be many people who want to join us and join with other Jewish institutions that are celebrating this holiday.
Do you feel safe yourself?
Every time I think I've made sense of the continual attacks and the harmful nature in which people speak about the Jewish community, speak about Israel, and I feel like I can breathe again. Here, it feels that then here we go again, another attack of this magnitude, another attack which is so gruesome and harms innocent people. And so when you ask me if I personally feel safe, I'm not sure. It's making me really think a lot and think twice about my own personal safety and the safety of my family and the safety of my fellow community members.
I know tonight you'd mentioned that there was going to be an event at Eitz Chaim for Hanukkah. Is that still going to happen?
Yeah, absolutely, that is still going to happen. We have every intention of moving forward. You know, my feeling is that if we cower and cave in, then all we are doing is placating the needs of these virulent anti-Semites. And I don't want to be a part of giving them any kind of victory. And so it seems especially fitting on the holiday of Hanukkah, which celebrates the defeat of a huge empire that was looking to eradicate the Jewish people, and a small group of Jewish military figures was able to really defeat this much larger empire, and to insist that Judaism, like all religions, should be freely expressed in our society. So I think it's incumbent on all of us who are Jews to gather together in some sort of community setting, some kind of fashion, to celebrate Hanukkah.
That was CBC's Aaron Broman speaking with local Rabbi Cleel Rose yesterday. A quick commute update. Northbound Wall Street at Wellington, there is a collision blocking the right lane. Emergency crews are currently on scene, so keep left, as says Al on the commuter line. Thank you so much for that call. Again, that's northbound Wall Street at Wellington. A collision is blocking the right lane. Emergency crews are on scene, so keep left. Thank you to Al for that call. Some community advocates say the city needs to rethink its new encampment regulations. It's been almost a month since Winnipeg's new camping bylaws came into effect. Under these new rules, encampments are banned near schools, daycares, playgrounds, and other public spaces. Last week, an encampment in Mostyn Park in the West Broadway neighborhood was torn down. Since November 17th, the city says it has cleared 10 encampment sites. Outreach workers say finding housing or even temporary shelter for people from these encampments has been a struggle. Last week, Jamil Mahmood, head of Main Street Project, said there just isn't enough housing to go around.
That's not an ideal, recognizing that almost all shelters are full at this time of year, and even our overflow winter pop-up shelter at Siloam is also full every night as well. So it's not a sustainable kind of solution for folks, and it often will lead to a really short-term 1 or 2 nights or 3 nights, and then folks might end up back on the street somewhere else. And so it does create that uncertainty for folks and disconnects them from resources.
That was Jamil Mahmood, the head of Main Street Project, speaking with CBC's Felicia Adam. Those concerns are being echoed by other community organizations. Ren Armstrong leads the West Central Women's Resource Centre. She's been working with Main Street Project, trying to connect people with housing. Welcome to the show, Ren.
Thanks for having me, guys.
So, can you walk us through what happened when the city cleared the Mostyn Park encampment last week?
Well, what happened was MSP and our team from West Central, we worked together to try to use whatever resources that we did have to relocate people into temporary housing. Right now, we don't have any permanent housing for folks. We just have transitional units. So we worked together to relocate those folks who were interested and willing to go into those units. And then the other folks, we just kind of let them know what was going to be happening and let them know their options and how they can prepare for the city coming in. And then we worked together to try to help those people out. And then when there wasn't really anyone identified anymore that wanted to relocate, or after the word got out, people kind of cleared out of the encampment naturally. So we, MSP had reached out to the city to let them know that there was no one there anymore. And the city went in and cleaned up.
How much time, how much notice are the folks in these encampments getting?
They're not being given much notice at all. We do our best to let them know, but we're not really being given any notice by the city when an official day is that they would like to come in and do the cleanups. So we are kind of just playing it by ear every day. Yeah.
So you mentioned that there's no permanent housing that you can offer to these folks. Do you know if any of them are going to just other encampments?
I would imagine that that's the case. There are some people who are just going to relocate because they don't have any other choice. So yeah, some people are moving farther and farther away from the middle of the city and getting farther and farther away from resources that they do need.
What are your biggest concerns when it comes to this new bylaw?
My biggest concerns are, one, not having enough sustainable housing for people to move into, and people just being pushed around the city until they have nowhere else left to go. And I'm also really concerned about what happens when people do refuse to leave their encampment area. What kind of enforcement is going to be taken on these people because they don't have anywhere else to go. I'm worried about police involvement and things like that. Should things get more escalated?
What concerns do you have? What concerns do you hear directly from these folks?
The same similar concerns that we have. Like, there's not really enough housing options. What happens if they don't want to go into the one place that we have to offer them right now? What are the repercussions against them? Where are they going to go afterwards? We all kind of share a lot of the same concerns.
We've heard from St. Boniface Street Links that they're seeing more people with more of a need to access their services and shelter spaces because of this new bylaw. How strained are your outreach services right now as more encampments are cleared?
Like I mentioned earlier, it's kind of like a race against the clock every day. We have a very small team of 3 people, so we do our best to support when we can. It's been quite the strain, and it's also the strain on us emotionally too, because we're not here to come in and tell people that they don't belong somewhere. We're only here to give them the information that we've been given, that we unfortunately have to work against this new bylaw that has been released. And morally, it's a struggle too, because we don't want to push people and push them out and only show up and give them one option of somewhere they can go. And if they don't take that, then that's too bad. Like, it doesn't sit well with us on our hearts either. So we're doing our best to do this work in a good, person-centered way that still upholds people's human rights without, essentially just clearing people out and telling them that they have nowhere that they belong.
What would you rather see happen here when it comes to this bylaw?
I would rather see the city work with our outreach teams a little bit closer and identify what encampments are more ready for housing and what options we actually do have before they inflict the ban on that area. Because once they put that ban on them, then we are just, like I said, racing against time to try to find somewhere for people to go. The city needs to make sure that we have adequate housing options to give people before they post these bans.
We've heard an idea floated of creating one singular encampment that would provide a organized space that could connect people with housing and supports. What's your response to that? Do you think that could be a beneficial thing here in Winnipeg?
I think that can be beneficial for some people. I can also understand why some folks may not want to be part of that as well, and they should still be able to choose where they feel most comfortable. Like, some people feel safer along the riverbank. Some people don't want to be in large group settings like that. So I think it is still an option that would be really good to have for those folks who would be interested in that, because some people would really like to utilize that. And then as, outreach workers, that would help us be able to stay in better contact with people, knowing where they are all the time, not having to keep on finding people once they've been relocated. So that on our side would make things a little bit easier as well, and we can continue to follow up with people in that space. But I think that coming from a person-centered lens, that could help some people, and that could also not be for some people, but I think it would be a good resource.
Really appreciate your time this morning, Ren. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Have a great day.
That was Ren Armstrong, team lead with the West Central Women's Resource Center, Encampment to Housing Transition. It's time now to head to Heather Wells with news headlines.
Good morning. Well, Winnipeg police are increasing patrols at synagogues in the coming days. It comes after 2 gunmen opened fire at a crowd on Bondi Beach in Sydney, Australia during a Hanukkah celebration over the weekend. 15 people died. And here in Winnipeg, police are enhancing their presence also at cultural centers and places of worship during Hanukkah. We'll be back with more Manitoba News coming up at 8:30.
Thank you very much, Heather. Turning to the commute, we got a call from Mark. He says eastbound Scurfield at Waverley, there is a articulating bus that is blocking the entirety of eastbound Scurfield. Traffic is being rerouted through a parking lot, but backups are building. Thank you for that call. If you see anything else, 204-788-3093. Lots still to come on Information Radio.
On Q. Leon Thomas spent years producing for some of the biggest artists in the world before going solo. Now he's nominated for 6 Grammys, including Album of the Year. He'll be here to talk about his journey so far, like growing up as a child star on Nickelodeon, and why making music feels like a responsibility. Is it really unnatural? Q with Tom Power. This morning at 10:30 in Newfoundland, and on the CBC Listen app, or wherever you get your podcasts. The CBC News is next. Coming up in half an hour, it's The Current with Matt Galloway.
When Hurricane Melissa hit Jamaica in October, it was the strongest storm in that island's history, left a train of devastation. The CBC's David Common brings us the stories from the hardest hit areas, still picking up the pieces, coming up on The Current.
This is World Report. Good morning. I'm Angie Seth. Police in Los Angeles are investigating the death of Hollywood director Rob Reiner as a homicide. Reiner directed nearly 24 films, including This Is Spinal Tap and The Princess Bride. He and his wife Michelle were found dead in their home yesterday. Steve Futterman brings us the latest on the investigation and Reiner's legacy.
Boy, the way Glenn Miller played.
This is how the world was introduced to Rob Reiner. He played the liberal son-in-law in the landmark 1970s sitcom All in the Family, often battling his conservative father-in-law, Archie Bunker, who referred to Reiner's character as Meathead.
Like I said before, that you ain't got no respect.
Oh, it's respect has to be earned.
So does a living, but that don't mean nothing to you.
Overnight here in the Brentwood section of Los Angeles near Reiner's home, police spent the night conducting their investigation. Deputy Police Chief Alan Hamilton.
Los Angeles police officers, along with the Los Angeles City Fire Department, responded to the 200 block of Chadbourne Avenue here in the city of Brentwood. Upon arrival, they determined that there were 2 deceased individuals inside of the residence.
Although police did not officially confirm the deaths, Reiner's family did. According to media reports, the person under suspicion is his 32-year-old son, Nick, who has dealt with mental health issues. In addition to his acting, Reiner also won acclaim directing such films as When Harry Met Sally and A Few Good Men.
You want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth! You can't handle the truth!
Among those expressing shock at Reiner's death, former U.S. President Barack Obama. He said Reiner had a deep belief in goodness. Steve Futterman, CBC News, Los Angeles.
A person of interest in the shooting at Brown University is being released. Rhode Island police detained a man in his 20s after Saturday's incident. 2 students were killed, 9 others injured. The CBC's Willie Lowry is following developments from Washington. So, Willie, what are officials saying about the decision to release this person of interest?
Rhode Island authorities say that after hours in custody, they simply didn't have enough evidence to charge the person that they had detained earlier Sunday morning. And they believe that the information they have collected points in a different direction. Rhode Island Attorney General Peter Nerona says he's still confident they'll find the killer.
There's a ton of things that happen next. And so I don't want to get into all those things because obviously we have a murderer out there, frankly. And so we're not going to give away the game plan. But the fact of the matter is, law enforcement has the tools necessary to solve this case.
Authorities have released a 9-second security video that they believe shows the suspect turning a corner near Brown University in Providence. The suspect is dressed all in black and walking briskly. 2 students were killed in the shooting and 9 others injured when a gunman burst into the engineering and physics building and opened fire. Students were preparing for final exams. The Ivy League school has canceled classes and exams and allowed students to head home early for the holidays. Providence Mayor Brett Smiley says residents should still feel safe despite police releasing the initial person of interest.
We know that this is likely to cause fresh anxiety for our community. And we want to reiterate what we said earlier, which remains true, which is ever since the initial call, we have not received any credible or specific threats to the Providence community. And so the status of safety in our community remains unchanged.
The FBI is assisting local authorities in the investigation. There's still no word on a possible motive behind the attack.
Willie, thanks for the update.
My pleasure.
The CBC's Willie Lowry in Washington. Members of Sydney's Jewish community gathered to remember the victims of a mass shooting at Bondi Beach. At least 15 people were killed after 2 gunmen opened fire during a Hanukkah event at the popular tourist destination on Sunday. Police say 2 gunmen opened fire during the festival. 1 was killed, the other's in the hospital after being shot by police. This is being investigated as a terrorist attack. People in the Bondi community say they're still in shock.
It's just the most horrifying thing that I always prayed that would never happen. You'd never have to experience anything like this. I just keep on thinking that I'm in a bad dream and I'm going to wake up.
And my heart goes out to all the victims, their families, and the journey that they're now going to be on to heal from what's happened.
It's caused a lot of destruction, and I think there are many people, many families who are going to be impacted for a long time.
Police say a 50-year-old father and his 24-year-old son are suspected of carrying out the attacks. Australia's government says it will overhaul its already tough national gun control laws and is facing criticism over its handling of rising anti-Semitism in the country. To other news, we're getting a clearer picture of how Canada's economy is faring. Statistics Canada says the annual rate of inflation held steady at 2.2% in the month of November. That is on par with the year-over-year increase in October. Senior business correspondent Peter Armstrong has the details.
This falls right about where economists were expecting to see inflation land this month. The biggest driver up was food prices. Groceries were up 4.7% year over year. Frozen beef, for example, up 17.7%. The biggest driver down was in a category of travel, tours, and accommodation. And this, it turns out, was that we're still working our way through the Taylor Swift impact on economic data. In November of last year, of course, Swift came through Canada and we saw hotel and travel costs shot up as demand surged. Well, now here we are a year later, and accommodation, without Taylor Swift in town, has come back down 6.9%. Rents at the same time are also rising, but they're rising at a slower pace. And all of this together keeps the rate of inflation right at that target range the Bank of Canada likes to see. Peter Armstrong, CBC News, Toronto.
Chile's politics are swinging to the right. A new president was elected last night. Jose Antonio Cast won the more than 58% of the vote. He leads a party he founded because his previous party was not right-wing enough.
Sin seguridad no hay paz. Sin paz.
During his acceptance speech, Cast said, "Without security, there's no peace. Without peace, there's no democracy." He campaigned on a plan to give police more powers, impose harsher sentences on criminals, and build walls along Chile's borders to keep migrants out. The feminist punk collective, known as Pussy Riot, is now considered an extremist organization in Russia. Pussy Riot became known globally in 2012 after they were jailed for staging a protest against President Vladimir Putin in a Russian Orthodox cathedral. Those women have all left Russia, but they continue to speak out against the war in Ukraine. Today, a Moscow court labeled them foreign agents and handed them all jail sentences in absentia for spreading lies about the Russian army. On social media, Pussy Riot's founder says if telling the truth is extremism, they're happy to be extremists. And finally, Sebastian Lai says his father is saddened, or his family rather is saddened, but not surprised his father, Jimmy Lai, has been convicted under China's national security law.
What we've seen today and actually over the past 5 years is a complete breakdown in the Hong Kong legal system.
The pro-democracy campaigner founded the now defunct Apple Daily newspaper. Lai, he could be jailed for life. A 3-judge panel ruled he conspired to publish seditious materials and collude with foreign forces. Laura Westbrook has more from Hong Kong.
Jimmy Lai is the most prominent pro-democracy figure arrested in 2020 under the national security law imposed by Beijing in the wake of anti-government protests the year before. One of the 3 national security judges, Esther To, says there was no doubt in the judges' minds that Lai had never wavered in his intention to destabilize China and continued to call for sanctions against China and Hong Kong after the national security law took effect. Listening to the verdict, Jimmy Lai sat stoically with his arms folded and later waved to his family and supporters as he was escorted out of the glass dock. Here's Hong Kong's National Security Police Chief Steve Lee.
The court particularly highlighted that the testimony of the Lai is a contradiction, inconsistent and reliable, and also highlighted that he is the mastermind of the 3 charges.
A vocal critic of China's leaders, Jimmy Lai founded the well-known pro-democracy Apple Daily newspaper. It was forced to shut down in 2021. William Wong is one of the newspaper's long-time readers.
Our voice have been destroyed by the government.
78-year-old Lai faces up to life in prison and will be sentenced at a later date. Laura Westbrook for CBC News, Hong Kong.
And that's the latest national and international news from World Report. I'm Angie Seth. This is CBC News.
Good morning, Manitoba. I'm Chloe Friesen, filling in this morning for Marcy Marcusa. You're listening to Information Radio. On CBC Radio 1, 89.3 FM, 990 AM, on our YouTube live stream, or anywhere on your CBC Listen app. Thank you for joining us this morning. Coming up on the show, the Jewish community is in mourning during a time intended to celebrate the beginning of Hanukkah. We'll hear from the Jewish community here in Winnipeg about how they are coping after what police have described as a deadly terrorist attack in Sydney, Australia. First, it's time for a look at news headlines with CBC's Heather Wells.
Good morning. Well, this isn't really the news you want to hear when you're Christmas shopping, but the latest inflation numbers are out. And in Manitoba, inflation rose in November, 3.3%. Up from 3 in October. Nationally, inflation held its own, although grocery prices were up 4.7% year over year in November. So we'll hear more about those numbers as well. The head of a food bank in Flin Flon says the northern Manitoba city is being left behind in the affordability crisis. Allison Dallas Funk says the food bank has a catchment area of 20,000 people in both Manitoba and Saskatchewan. She says Flin Flon is a hub for other services and doesn't get enough government support. Those stories and more in our next local news coming up at 8:30.
Thank you very much, Heather.
Thank you.
That is CBC's Heather Wells. Abby Adiemi is here with a look at your morning forecast. Hello.
Good morning once again. The far north dealing with cold conditions and the deep freeze, while down south we're seeing that gradual, the warm up as we get into tomorrow. Winnipeg right now and the Red River Valley region, we're looking at minus 11 at this time. It's cloudy outside. Our daytime high is going to be reaching minus 9 later. And then tonight we're looking out for this freezing rain or drizzle that should develop, dropping our temperatures to about 0 before we hit that plus 3 tomorrow in Winnipeg. Similar conditions we're seeing in southern Manitoba, the Pembina Valley region, the Westman, the Parkland, the Interlake region. Highs would be between minus 8 and minus 9. For now, Brandon seems to be clocking minus 17 amongst the regions in the south. Up north, the cold still holds things down. We're looking at that frigid minus 28 in Churchill at this time, with a wind chill around minus 38. So it's pretty cold up there. But Winnipeg, we are cloudy at minus 11, warming up to minus 9.
Thank you very much, Abby.
Thank you.
And that is CBC's Abby Adiemi. Show director Corey Funk is back, and the commute has really picked up.
Yes, it really has. Westbound Fermor just past St. Anne's. There's a multi-vehicle collision blocking that westbound median lane on Fermor, so keep right to get around that. That's according to the Winnipeg Traffic Management Center. Also got a couple calls on the commuter line. Eastbound Scurfield at Waverley heard that there was an articulating bus that somehow got stuck and is blocking the entirety of eastbound Scurfield, but traffic is being directed through a parking lot to get around that. But not sure what, that was about half an hour ago, so not sure what's changed there. Would love to get an update. Also, heard about on Wall Street at Wellington, there was a collision in the far right lane, blocking traffic, so keep left to get around that, maybe causing some slow traffic on Wall Street this morning. If you do hear anything else, though, going on, you can give me a call on the CBC commuter line. If you have any updates on what I just said or anything else you're seeing out there, give me a call, 204-788-3093.
Well, as we've been hearing throughout the show this morning, a Hanukkah celebration on Sydney's Bondi Beach came to a tragic end after 2 gunmen opened fire. At least 15 people were killed in what Australian authorities are calling an act of anti-Semitic terrorism. One gunman, a 50-year-old man, was fatally shot by police. The other shooter, his 24-year-old son, was wounded. The attack occurred as hundreds gathered at the beach for an event called Hanukkah by the Sea to celebrate the start of the 8-day Jewish festival. CBC's Aaron Broman spoke with a local rabbi yesterday who says while this attack won't stop Hanukkah festivities, he still feels unsafe. Cleel Rose is the spiritual leader of Winnipeg's 8 Hayim congregation.
Every time I think I've made sense of the continual attacks and the harmful nature in which people speak about the Jewish community, speak about Israel, and I feel like I can breathe again. Here it feels that then here we go again, another attack of this magnitude, another attack which is so gruesome and harms innocent people. And so when you ask me if I personally feel safe, I'm not sure. It's making me really think a lot and think twice about my own personal safety and the safety of my family and the safety of my fellow community members.
Joining us now on Zoom is Jeff Lieberman, President and CEO of the Jewish Federation of Winnipeg. Good morning.
Good morning, Chloe.
Now, I saw you closing your eyes, kind of taking in the words of Cleel Rose, the rabbi of Winnipeg's 8 Hayim congregation. Do you resonate with what you were hearing there?
It's so difficult, being a Jew and a proud Jew whose father was a Holocaust survivor, and all of his family, his 6 brothers and a sister, and both his parents were murdered in the Holocaust, and he passed away a few years ago. He would be shocked to see what's going on around the world now. And to hear what Rabbi Cleel just said just resonates. Our Jewish community is horrified by the massacre that happened yesterday in Australia. And, we stand in solidarity with the Jewish community of Australia. We give our condolences to the families of those that were killed, and we wish those that were injured a speedy recovery. But it's devastating when you hear attack after attack against Jews only because they're Jewish. And the Holocaust ended, in 1945, and to see this happening again is really devastating for our Jewish community.
What have you been hearing from community members?
I've heard from a lot of our community members who the same. They're shocked by what happened. These were people celebrating a festive Jewish holiday, Hanukkah, on the beach, and enjoying themselves, and two extremists shot at them. Our community is hurt. Our community doesn't feel safe, and it's happening. It's happened in many different places around the world. In England a few months ago at that synagogue, there was an incident in Colorado, in Boulder, Colorado, a few months ago. There's this. We don't feel that our politicians are standing up against anti-Semitism the way they should. It shouldn't take incidents like this for them to come out and have a statement. Last year, 70% of religious crimes were against Jews, only because they're Jews. And, Jew hate is rampant. And our politicians and our business leaders and religious leaders need to stand up and say enough is enough, and that we need to ensure the safety of everyone. Certainly in Canada, all Canadians, Jews and everyone else, shouldn't be subject to hate like this.
You mentioned that feeling of safety and how that changes after an event like this, even here in Canada, in Manitoba, in Winnipeg. Is there anything being done or any changes being made when it comes to support and security measures to help people feel safe, especially during this season?
Well, we've had a very good relationship with the Winnipeg Police Service, forever. But after October 7th, when the Hamas terrorists murdered 1,200 innocent Israelis and took hostages, we've had to safeguard ourselves in our community. The police have been there to support us all along the way. Whenever we have events, they're there to make sure that we feel secure. And after this happened yesterday, I had a conversation with our contacts at the police, and there's a number of Hanukkah celebrations this week, and they'll be there to make sure that everything is safe.
You mentioned wanting to see more support from politicians and others in leadership. What would that look like for you?
Well, it looks like the Bill C-9 that the Liberals are trying to pass in Ottawa, which will provide a better method for police to arrest those that are spewing hate, as well as for the prosecutors to prosecute. It's bubble legislation so that those that are protesting and spewing hatred at religious institutions or cultural centers, whether they're Jewish centers or synagogues or churches or mosques, we're calling for bubble legislation so that people are protected from this hate. We need our federal, provincial, and municipal governments to step up. Enough is enough. It's time to protect our citizens of Canada. We are all Canadians. We have Canadian values, and we need to make sure that we're all protected.
What do you envision this Hanukkah season being like as we continue into the 8 days, balancing the celebration of the season, but also what happened in Sydney?
Well, there are a number of community Hanukkah events that are going to happen in Winnipeg throughout the week, and it's important that they continue and perhaps even be bolder than they would have been otherwise. We go into this week now with sadness and some despair, but at the end of the day, we need to be proud of our heritage and our tradition, and keep going with those Hanukkah traditions that we've done, and whether that's in a public way or in a private way in people's homes.
Jeff, what's your message that you would like to send to Jewish Manitobans this Hanukkah?
I'd like to tell them that the Jewish Federation of Winnipeg is there to support them. We're doing what we can to work with our politicians and our police to make sure that our community is safe. I want all Jews in Manitoba to celebrate Hanukkah this week, add an extra candle to mark what happened in Australia. So have an extra candle besides the menorah and light that every day so that we remember what happened and that we cherish the lives that were killed and those that were injured.
Thank you so much for joining us this morning, Jeff.
Thank you, Chloe.
Jeff Lieberman is the president and CEO of the Jewish Federation of Winnipeg.
CBC's New Year's Eve show is back, and we want to know, what are you doing on New Year's Eve? Last year, we reached 6.8 million Canadians as we counted down live in all 6 time zones. Now, we're looking to join celebrations across Canada. Are you getting married? Doing something special? Send an email to ask@cbc.ca, and we might send our cameras to your party. Get ready for the live Cross Canada Countdown.
The time is 8:24. You are listening to Information Radio on CBC Radio 1. Folk musician Alison Russell released a duet with Annie Lennox a while back. It's a ballad about needing love in a world filled with strife. Maybe you heard it at Winnipeg Folk Fest this summer. This is Super Lover.
Tears of rage, tears of grief, Palestine, Israel to Tennessee. We need a super love, need a super lover. Double Dutch and hula hoops, all our fears and loops and loops. We need a super love, need a super lover all the night. So cold, who among us dreams of dawn? Who dreamt us and all have they gone? Who keeps the candle lit for their return? Who could count the flowers in your heart? Please let me die before my child's brave. Every mother far and wide, yeah, that's a super love. I'm a super lover. You can feel it near and far. It fades the moon and blinds the stars. Yes, that's a super love. We are super lovers. The night so cold, so cold. Who among us dreams the dawn? Who among us dreams the dawn? Who dreamt us and all have they gone? Who keeps the candle lit for their return? Who keeps the candle lit for their return? Who could count the flowers in your heart? Believe what you will, believe they're gonna tell you it's naive to be a super lover, but we are super lovers. There's no God, fire and blood. If there's a God, then God is keeps a candle lit for their return? Who keeps a candle lit for their return? Who could count the flowers in your heart? Tears of rage, tears of grief, Palestine, Israel to Tennessee. Tears of rage, tears of grief, Sudan, Congo to Haiti. We need a super love. We can be super lovers.
That track performed by Annie Lennox and Allison Russell. It's called Super Lover. You're listening to Information Radio on CBC Radio 1. Coming up on Radio Noon, there is a new drug to help treat postpartum depression. Health Canada has approved the drug Zuranolone. It will be available in early 2026. And today on Radio Noon, they're asking you to share your stories of postpartum. Maybe you had a loved one who experienced postpartum depression. What did you do to help treat it? If you had the chance to take this new drug, would you? You can call in to Radio Noon today after 12:30. It's time now for your CBC Local News.
This is CBC News. Good morning. I'm Heather Wells in Winnipeg. At 8:30 it is -11, and that temperature just going to climb to -9 this afternoon and all the way up to 0 while you sleep tonight. However, there is a good chance of freezing rain or freezing drizzle late this evening. The first candle of the menorah was lit among prayers at Chabad Jewish Center in Winnipeg last night. But the start of the 8-day celebration of Hanukkah is being overshadowed by a deadly shooting in Sydney, Australia. 15 people were killed on Bondi Beach in what authorities there call a terrorist attack. Rob Williams is an Australian Jew living in Winnipeg, and he is determined to not let fear drive him away from celebrating his faith.
It's never stopped us in the past, and as unfortunate and terrible as it is, we'll always see the light through the evil.
Winnipeg police say they are increasing patrols at synagogues during Hanukkah. They're also enhancing their presence at cultural centers and places of worship. Now, a Jewish member of parliament says the attack on Jews at that Hanukkah event in Australia won't stop the community from celebrating. Ben Carr says Jewish Manitobans will find strength and unity during a time of grief. He says the deadly shooting shows the need for people of all walks of life to speak out against anti-Semitism.
My hope is that if any good can come from the horror and the aftermath of events like this, it's that it draws attention to a very real issue that we need every citizen of this country to wake up to.
Khalil Rose is the rabbi for a congregation Eitz Chaim. Rose says the Jewish community will find unity and strength.
In times of sorrow, that's what we do as a Jewish community, and we depend on each other. So any tragedy of this magnitude that impacts Jewish people across the world is felt immediately by those of us who are Jewish on this end of the world.
Rose says he wants to see more government officials and community leaders who are not Jewish speak out against anti-Semitism. In other news, rising costs at the grocery store were causing fresh pain for consumers in November. As Statistics Canada this morning is reporting, overall inflation held steady last month. The annual inflation rate rose 2.2% in November, unchanged from the previous month. Grocery prices were up 4.7% year over year in November. That is a jump from 3.4% in October and the highest level recorded since December 2023. In Manitoba, inflation rose 3.3% in November from 3% in October. People in Flin Flon say they feel left behind in the cost of living crisis. As CBC's Rosanna Hempel tells us, they want area communities and the province to step up.
It's not nice.
Valerie Colombe and her 2 kids have been couch surfing for 4 years. Now they're at her sister's house in Flin Flon with about 10 other people. Colombe is originally from Puckatawagan, northeast of the city, and gets help from the Flin Flon Food Bank. The executive director there, Alison Dallas Funk, says it gets by mostly on local donations, despite serving many communities outside the city.
Ideally, all communities would contribute somewhat to our food bank. If there was consistent and everybody collectively supported it, it wouldn't be such a burden on one community.
Dallas Funk says Flin Flon also doesn't have an overnight shelter and urges the province to pitch in. Minister Bernadette Smith, who oversees the homelessness file, says the province is focused on creating and fixing long-term affordable housing. She says that includes $1 million for a supported housing complex that's expected to be taking tenants in 2027. Rosanna Hempel, CBC News, Flin Flon.
The chair of Manitoba Hydro's board of directors has resigned. Ben Graham was appointed in 2023. He was formerly CEO at MPI and then the head of Manitoba Blue Cross. In a statement, a spokesperson for Manitoba Hydro says they are saddened by Graham's departure. The statement says Graham led Hydro through a number of changes, plans to rehabilitate aging infrastructure, advance reconciliation, and develop plans to meet Manitoba's energy needs. Finance Minister Adrian Sala thanks Graham for his leadership. Manitoba Hydro did not specify who will now act as chair of its board. You can find more news updated throughout the day at cbc.ca/Manitoba.
Thank you very much, Heather Wells. You are listening to CBC Radio 1. I'm Chloe Friesen. And a big thank you to the whole team that put together today's show. Jenna Badasso, Dylan Longhurst, Shanalee Vidal, Zubina Ahmed are our associate producers. Heather Wells, Megan Ketchison, and Joni Nicolou are our folks in the newsroom this morning. And Corey Funk, our show director, Abby Adiemi is our technician, and Darren Morash is running that YouTube live stream. And thank you to Nelly Gonzalez, show producer, and Leif Larson, our senior producer of audio. Abby's here with one last look at the weather forecast.
Yeah, cloudy and cold, but the big warm-up begins in the south while the north is staying really frigid this morning. We're looking at southern Manitoba around -11 at this time, warming to -9 later today, and then we'll see temperatures climb to about +3 tomorrow morning, but we need to deal with the freezing rain and drizzle that we will be getting overnight. Winnipeg right now, we're at -12, we get to -9 later.
All right, it'll be an interesting one tomorrow morning. Corey Funk, one last look at the commute.
Logan and Sherbrooke, multi-vehicle collision blocking the westbound lane on Logan. Keep left to get around that as well. Westbound Fermor, just past St. Anne's, the multi-vehicle collision is blocking the median lane. So keep right to get around that on westbound Fermor.
Thank you very much, Corey.
Thank you.
I'm Chloe Friesen, filling in this week for Marcy Marcusa. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. We will be back tomorrow. You are listening to Information Radio. The World This Hour is next. My mistake, The Current is next.